Hello, everybody. It is Romania Black, and it is time for the Season 2 Attack on Titan recap, review, and RIP. Man, what a season it has been. I've got my notes pulled up here. Season 1, I had about 5 pages of notes, and as I rounded out episode 12 of Season 2, I'm at 9 pages. There's so much to go over. And so what I'm doing is that in lieu of a live stream, because I know that spoilers are rampant, especially everybody gets really excited. And I know that everybody has told me since I started this show that seasons 3 and 4 are better than seasons 1 and 2. Whatever. I have, to avoid spoilers, because I'm going in blind to this series, I've decided that I would do a recap and review video instead of a live stream in lieu of that. So that way y'all can comment down below, but it won't be like spoilers in a chat because everybody gets excited. You want to say something and it might be spoilery. I will say first off right off the bat, and I'll say this at the start of season 3. I know that season 3 is a hype season. I know that everybody's told me that lots of stuff goes down. Please help me go into this as blind as I can. I know I'll figure out all the plot points. It'll all come together. A lot has come together in this season, but please don't spoil me. Please don't tell me your favorite episodes until after they happen. I mean, after they happen, you can be like, this is my favorite episode in the series. You can do that. But don't tell me favorite episodes. I don't want to get hyped for a specific episode. And don't tell me any like clues or probably be like, did you know a hint at, and I'm like, no, I'll figure it out. I want to go in blind because I've been traipsing this show. Y'all see in a minute that I want to go in as blind as possible so it's a surprise, because I went in blind to season 1 and I made it through season 2 without spoilers, and it was so good. Y'all are saints. Y'all are amazing. I love that y'all have been moderating in the comments for me to help out. That's amazing. Y'all have been wonderful, and I love each and every one of you because it's made this experience watching this show so wonderful. And so I'm so excited to get into season 3. I really am excited to get into season 3. I was a little trepidatious going into season 2, and we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, this season flew by so quickly. I did not expect it to go by this fast, and so much happened. Season 1 was twice the amount of episodes, so it felt twice as long, but there was so much happening and so much setup of the series, of the characters, of the Titans themselves, that I didn't know what to expect going into this second season. And it's really been such a pleasant surprise because lots of stuff happened, but in a very short amount of time. This whole season takes place within the span of 2 days, which is insanity. So it's kind of crazy, but so much have happened. And there weren't as many deaths. We'll talk about that. But y'all told me back in season 1, when I was getting really freaked out about season 1, y'all said, oh, it was a simpler time back then. And I was like, what the heck does that mean? No, it was a simpler time. It was so much simpler. Going into season 2, I had so many different expectations, and so many of them were not met, but in the best way possible. This season exceeded what I expected it was going to do, and it has gotten me so hyped for season 3. So after episode 10, after Children, I feel like we've hit the point of no return with this series. Episode 6 was amazing. Warrior was great. But episode 10 for me is the point of no return. It's enough lore that was dropped in that episode that from that point on, I can see episode 10 of this season as you're either in this series or you're not, because some things are dropped that are kind of supernatural and different that I could see somebody, if they were into this series up until this point. Episode 10 is like the make or break episode. Like, are you going to go past this point and keep on going, or are you going to back out now? You can take the red pill or the blue pill. And for me, it was definitely like, let's go all in. Like, I'm in it now. But I wanted to talk about, because I just finished season 2's finale this morning. I watched episode 12. I was thinking about this since then, but it's such a different vibe than the end of season 1. At this point, technically, we're at the halfway point of the series. Technically. I have a feeling, based on the episode count, and seasons 3 and 4 are longer, based on that, there's going to be more content in the second half. The second half's going to be longer, but I feel like this is technically, the way they ended season 2, it felt like a midway point, right? It felt like the nice definitive, we wrapped it all up in a bow, and it was such a different vibe. Season 1 ended, The Wall ended with this feeling of despair and confusion. Everybody was split up. Everybody was going separate ways. There was confusion, like, why are Reiner and Bertolt and all of them in this castle waiting in civilian clothes? What's going on with Aaron? What's going on with Annie? What's this Titan in the wall? What's happening? Like, there's all this confusion and kind of desperation. And then in this episode, episode 12, the season finale, I feel like it's more of a sense of hope and resolve. Like the fact that Aaron is the coordinate and has these powers is like a sense of hope for humanity. We thought Aaron was going to help us in season 1, and now we definitely know he has the ability to help us in ways we didn't even expect. But there's also that resolve, the resolve of Aaron, the resolve of Erwin, the resolve of Armin and John, the resolve of Mikasa. And it's such a twist because, you know, in the last season, the finale, it felt like we didn't really know where we stood against the Titans. And in the end of this season, it's like, nah, we know where we stand. Like, we've got Aaron, we can do things, we have hope, and we have a chance to battle the Titans now and be on equal footing with them, more so than we've had prior in the series. So it's a much different vibe. It felt like that kind of like breath of, okay, Aaron's got his resolve, Erwin's got his resolve, everything's getting set up. It's just all got to kind of see where the dice tumbles in the next season. And so that's really cool that they've set that up for us. And we didn't have a post-credit scene, so it felt like a nice, like, ready to go. Although that the Beast Titan there at the end, that felt like a post-credit scene with the dude coming out of the Beast Titan. Glad to know there was a dude inside of it the whole time. I'm like, yes, good deal. So what this recap review and RIP is going to do is we are going to recap the plot, expectations and theories, ranking the episodes, the themes that stood out and resonated, the ships, talking about characters, who's safe, who's not. Instead of, I did Attack on Titan in 9 minutes, I reacted to that in the last recap and review. In this one, I've got 6 character songs that I told I could listen to in this. So that's what I'm going to do, is react to those character songs and then do character rankings and then season 3 predictions. So it's the same format and structure as the first season recap, review, and RIP, just more content. Because for having half the episodes, we got twice the content. I think we got twice the lore, twice the character development, twice the setup. It's amazing how much you can pack into 12 episodes compared to 25 in the first season. The first season, I think, was more action-oriented and showing how the Survey Corps worked and to show the mechanics of the ODM gear, how the structure, the military and political structures worked, how the world building worked. Like, it was more of that setup. Whereas this was more character-oriented and getting more into the lore and I feel like this season was kind of riding the line between getting more into the wall people and the Titan lore, and then the first season was all about the wall people. I want season 3 to be about the Titans. We'll talk about it, but I want season 3 to be about the Titans. We've gone through the spectrum. I want us to get over in the Titan side of things, and who knows if that'll happen or not. But with that, I did toasts last season for our last review for season 1's Fallen. I did toasts, and so with half the episodes we do twice the APV. so our first toast of the afternoon, of the evening, is going to be to our dear Mike from episode 1, my dude. That has probably been one of the, other than Hannes, one of the most visceral deaths of the season. Nanaba's was pretty bad too. But Mike coming out of nowhere. And I feel like with the plot, Isayama was realizing, crap, I have a guy in the Survey Corps that can sniff out Titans. That may be a problematic plot element later on. So I'm just going to have him die. But his death introduced us to the Beast Titan. It was one of the craziest episodes of the season. It was setting up that, yeah, Titans can talk, and they can talk real good if you got the right one. And it just set up just how gruesome this season was going to be and how dire it was. So, Mike, you set the tone for season 1 with your death, and it's one that's really stuck with me all season long. So, Mike, we toast to you. All right, so with that being said, the recap of the plot. So, what's happening? I feel the first season I had so many questions and I was so confused and was just bamboozled throughout, like, what the heck is going on? And I feel like in this season, there's still a lot more questions that have yet to be answered, but it feels like the plot is taking shape. Like the outside, I talked about in the reactions, the outside of the puzzle is coming together, and now it's just like, let's start filling in things. And I felt like this season did a masterful job of giving us plot reveals and lore and things we didn't expect, but still didn't give us enough to get a full picture of what was going on. There's still so many questions and so many what ifs that it has me excited to go into season 3 and see, because now what are we going to do? You know, at this point, Reiner and Bertolt and Ymir are way over at Wall Maria. They've got to backtrack and come back. I'm like, are they going to go get an army and then come back? How are we doing this? So that's going to give our protagonists more time to kind of plan ahead. I felt like between seasons 1 and season 2, there was no time. It was just, we had to go immediately into the plot of season 2. There was no time for preparations. It was just, let's hurry up and go figure things out and do things really quickly. There's been a breach at Wall Rose. Let's go take care of it. So going back to the wall, the Titans are in them. Why are they there? Why were the walls forged? What are they protecting or keeping locked up? It goes back to the ED for season 2, the whole birdcage song. Like, you're in a birdcage, but you're not alone, so it's not so bad. I figured we'd get more, and I'll talk about expectations. I thought we'd get more with the wall, but we really didn't after episodes 2 and 3. So, saving details for season 3 indeed. So, what is happening? What is the war between the Wall Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom? That's what I'm calling them. Is the abandoned town in the Edie by the sea, is that where the Titans are now? Is that their home base? Is that their hometown? How far is that from Wall Maria? We don't know. I get with the Wall Kingdom, I get a very M. Night Shyamalan Village vibe, because if you've ever watched that movie, The Village, with M. Night Shyamalan, it's an older movie, so spoilers though, just skip ahead 30 seconds if you are interested in seeing that movie. But it turns out in the movie that the village that thought they were secluded and kind of isolated, it turns out they're in the middle of a world that's still functioning like the rest of the world, and they're just this isolated community that's cut off from reality of everyone else. So I got that vibe this season. I'm like, okay, is the Wall Kingdom kind of cut off from reality and they aren't privy to what the rest of the world is doing? How does that work? So interesting. Titans, we found out that, yeah, the Titans are all humans. Either the putty Titans are humans who have been forcibly turned into Titans, or we have the Titan shifters. We at least know there's a difference between Titan shifters and what I've been calling the putty Titans, but the regular Titans. And so what caused them to turn into a Titan in the beginning, in the first place? Are they just a different race of humanity? How does this work? Aaron's ability to turn into a Titan. We got a little bit more exploration with that. He is the coordinate. Why is that important? Well, it's clearly very relevant because his ability is pretty insane. He can control the putty Titans. So, like a commander of an army. Interesting, right? So, Aaron has an ability, and it's a pretty darn good one. And that's why Reiner and Bertolt and the Titans want Aaron, because his power can control all the other ones. So, if the Titans had somebody like Aaron, they could just get all the Titans, all the putty Titans together and just storm the wall at one time and just kill everybody. So yeah, it's pretty insane that he has that ability. The family of the church, Wall, Colt, and Pastor Nick, man, he really just dropped out of the season after episode 2. It was like, boom, he's gone. We don't know where he's at and what he's doing. He just kind of came in to drop this lore bomb and then peaced out. So I'm curious to see if we'll get him in season 3. But we got this establishment that the family of the church, they're important. The question is there a crossover between the Wall Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom where the family of the church is involved? Because Reiner talked about the family of the church and Historia being important with it, and it sounded almost like there were people with the family of the church that were in the Titandom just like they were in the Wall Kingdom. So, and then of course we got interested in the spiritual elements, the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights deity, the idea that does this possible god represent freedom? Does it represent the power of the Titans itself? Is it a God-given ability? And here's the thing, is there a cost? What is the cost? Because we've seen that it does stuff to like their faces. They get like the scars on their faces and things, and every Titan shifter has had that. But there's been kind of this weird vibe, like what is the price that you pay to become a Titan shifter? It seems almost too good to be true, right? And at the very end of episode 12, Ymir's like, I enjoyed my time as a goddess while it lasted. It's like, it's anytime you get some kind of supernatural, otherworldly power, it's like, okay, well, at what cost did you get that power? There has to be something, right? If the cost is that you have to be against humanity, that's still a weird thing. So I'm curious to know if we're going to explore that in season 3. I'm sure we will. And then the parting of the ways. I talked at the end of season 1 that there was going to be this parting of the ways between Aaron and and Mikasa versus Armin and Jean and them. But as the series went on, I started wondering if maybe Eren was going to separate from Armin and Mikasa, and I'll talk more about that. But it seems like when we ended season 2, everybody was together, so it seemed to kind of contradict my thought, because Eren was with Mikasa and Armin and Jean, and he seemed to like have the resolve and want to go gung ho and move forward. So it seemed like it was going to be okay. So we'll talk more about that. But yeah, then the timeline. So this season was crazy, right? This season was a bit crazy in terms of the timeline. And so I want to thank all my fellow patrons as I whip this out. Here we go. So thank you, fellow patrons, for sponsoring and helping me get this giant dry erase board. I really appreciate it. As soon as I got done with episode 10, and Christopher Peterson, you noted, you kind of commented on it. You're like, oh, you're going to get all Pepe Sylvia. It might have been Space Monkey. Space Monkey might have been you too, said that. I was like, Pepe Sylvia, I don't know. Just, possibly. I don't know. So yeah, what? So I was like, okay. I broke down the timeline. So here's the thing. I've got lots of things going on this board. So I was like, okay, timeline. So we have Titan Kingdom, and we don't know how, is it by the ocean? We don't know. But how many kilometers, how many meters, miles are between the Titan Kingdom and Wall Maria? We don't know that. Is it just like 5 miles away, and that's where all these Titans and stuff are coming from? Is it 100 miles away? We don't know. But there's some distance between where the Titans are coming from and Wall Maria. It can't be that far though, right? Because they sent Annie, Reiner, Marcel, and Bertolt, these 4 kids that were like 10 to 12 years old. They sent them on a mission to the Wall Kingdom. So it can't be that far away, right? It would be hilarious to me if this whole time Armin's been like, I wonder what the world is out there. I wonder if we'll ever see the ocean. And it's like 5 miles away. It's like right there. That would be hilarious. But I'm like, it can't be that far because you didn't, it can't be that far because they sent 4 kids to go attack the wall. So they couldn't have sent them like hundreds and thousands of miles away. I don't know. So then we have the whole timeline of what's going on. So 100 years ago, there's been peace at the wall maintained for nearly 100 years, right? I don't think that, I'd have to go back and rewatch season 1, but I can't recall if we get any vibe of how long the wall has been built for, but we know it's at least been 100 years, right? It's at least been 100 years. So we have 100 years of peace, but then 65 years ago, Ymir became the Putty Titan, 65 years ago, and then 5 years ago, we had Shiganshina happen. Ymir became a Titan shifter after she ate Marcel. Dr. Jaeger disappeared. Where's he been? And then in between that 65 and 5 years, we had from Ilse's notebook confirmation that it had been like 15 years since a Titan had been captured. So that would have been around the time Eren was born, right? Or a little bit before then. And so now we have the Walrose thing and Eren being a Titan. So the timeline with both what's going on with the Wall Kingdom and the Titan Kingdom is a little bit murky still, but we'll probably get into that into season 3. And then we have the timeline of what's happened this season. So we have episode 22, The Defeated, is where I'm starting this timeline at, because that's where things start to get kind of crazy. So episode 22 happened. They got Eren back. We had the Defeated. We had Levi and them parading through town and all of that, and them getting told that they need to go back to the government with Eren. So we had that. So in the meantime, between the moment of episodes 23 through 25, while the events of episodes 23 and 25 are happening, Annie versus the Survey Corps and Eren, while this is happening, Erwin sent Reiner, Bertolt, and the cadets to this location to wait. So they were sent in civilian clothes to wait there. Around the same time, the whole Annie versus Survey Corps thing is going on. And so as episode 25 ends, then we get several things happening at once. So while episode 25 is going on, Mike, or immediately following episode 25, Mike and them were sent to Utgard, and Mike branched off and was killed by the Beast Titan. And that's around the same time. We can assume that while Annie was facing the Survey Corps, the Beast Titan was creating the Titans from Connie's village. That's all happening around the same time. So then when Mike dies, it's in between them going to Castle Utgard and the events of Annie. So Jean and Erwin stayed behind because Erwin was at Walsena and Jean had the wig on. He was impersonating Aaron. And Levi and the others started to make their way, or Levi and them sent the others, the Aaron and the Survey Corps headed to Utgard. Episodes 1 through 4 covers that. While that's going on, while episodes 4 are going on, the Beast Titan goes over Wall Rose and he shows back up way over here at the end at Wall Maria. So as Reiner and the others take off towards Utgard, Aaron and them are headed that way. Lynn, Henning, Gelger, and Nanaba, they all die. And so it ends one day, day one. Day one encapsulates all this stuff happening, which is insanity. And then day 2 is when Ymir turns into a Titan, because day breaks and Ymir turns into a Titan and gets them all off the castle at Utgard. Aaron and all them meet up with them. Then they all go back to Wall Rose, and that's where the events of Warrior take place. And then at that point, Reiner and Bertolt take Aaron towards the trees. And so the events of episode 9 and the events of episode 8 are happening at the exact same time. While Armin and Mikasa are talking with Hannes, and John and Erwin and all them meet up with them at the wall, while all that's going down, Aaron and Ymir are having the conversation with Bertolt and Reiner in episode 9. So those 2 episodes were happening at the exact same time. And so then it all converges when both parties meet up at episodes 10 through 12. Everything meets up with itself, and there's the big battle with the Titans. And so then Hannes dies. It's right at sunset. We get to night, and Reiner and Bertolt and Ymir are at Wall Maria at nightfall. And then the new day breaks. In episode 12, we have the aftermath after that battle's over, and we get the resolve. Everybody resolving to move forward, and that's right when the Beast Titan shows up. I think this is right. It's right enough that it makes sense to me. I was like, okay. The timeline all kind of makes sense now in the weirdest of ways. But the fact that all this takes place over 48 hours is crazy. So yeah, there's that. But what I want to know is, why did the Beast Titan peace out? Why did he leave? Did he not want to be seen by Aaron or any of the others? Can Aaron control the Beast Titan? And that's why he didn't want to be around, because he was afraid of the coordinate. I don't know. He didn't want to be seen, so that's curious. But he was comfortable being seen by Reiner and Bertolt and them, probably as a reminder, be like, hey, get the job done so you can come back home. But we don't know anything else. So curious and curiouser. But I wanted to make that timeline here to show you all. So again, thank you so much, fellow patrons. I'll put you all up here. Thank you, fellow patrons, for getting me this dry erase board. I'm definitely going to keep it around and use it for future Attack on Titan reactions. If we get to a point where the plot gets too confusing and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm going to probably use this board as a means to break stuff down. So thank you all, fellow patrons. I've got y'all up here. Thank you all so much. Y'all are amazing. But I was so happy to get this and to talk about this. But we'll get Pepe Sylvia on other aspects too of this recap and review. But for now, we're gonna shove this out of the way. Okay, so our second toast of the recap, review, and RIP is actually going to go to Isayama's editor, because in episode 2, apparently Sasha was supposed to die. Was supposed to die against that Titan, but Isayama's editor was like, no, that's too depressing and too sad. Let's not do that. And to you, good editor, good sir, good madame, thank you, because I like Sasha's character a lot. I did not want to see Sasha's character die, so we thank you for your good service in convincing Isayama to keep Sasha alive, at least for season 2. So cheers to you, Isayama's editor. Okay, so we're going to talk about expectations and theories, and we're going to go with the expectations first. I had a lot of expectations in this series. A lot of expectations. Much more than season 1. The world, surprisingly, against all odds, a lot of my expectations weren't met, but somehow it got more complicated and the world got a lot deeper and bigger than I had imagined it would be in this season. So I thought when people were like, oh yeah, this whole season's just one arc, I was like, oh, it's just one arc. Okay. One insane arc. Like, so much was revealed in this arc that it's kind of mind-boggling to wrap your brain around. But I thought that we would be at the damn basement by now. I thought that by the end of the season, we'd be back at Shiganshina. Pipe dreams, y'all. I know that it's coming. I'm sure that in seasons 3 and 4, it's going to happen eventually. But I really thought that Aaron would either get there I had thought when the season started that Eren was going to either one, go with Erwin, Hanji, Levi, Mikasa, Armin, and the cadets in like a small squadron. I thought they'd all go to the basement that way, since it seemed to be really important in season 1. And then 2, I thought that post episode 9, Reiner and Bertolt might take him to the basement. I thought that was possible. And I still think that the basement is an important plot point to Erwin, especially since Eren seems convinced it has some important information, and we've seen how relevant Eren is to all of this. But I just think that the fact that the whole timeline was within 48 hours, we just haven't had time to go do it. So it's a little concerning that if they go back to the basement, they're headed straight back towards Reiner and Bertolt and them. It's kind of been, we ended this season with the ball being in the Titans, the ball is in both courts, right? The Titans are on one end and humanity's on the other. And it's like, who's going to make the first move, right? And so if they decide to go back to the basement in the next season, they're moving into Titan territory. They're moving their ball into their court. So that's a little bit concerning. I really thought, my biggest thing is I thought we'd have focus on Annie this season. I went into this season thinking that the Colossal Titan and Armored Titan, whoever they were, was going to storm in and try to break Annie out. I really thought that was happening this season. Or I thought we were going to have conversations between Hanji and Levi and Annie. I thought that was going to happen. We didn't get any focus on Annie this season. Annie was completely left out except for flashback and mention. It's amazing. I was floored that we didn't get any focus on her at all. So I'm really curious to know where she's going. I guess she's not going anywhere, but how they're going to try to get her back, if that's going to be a plot point. Because Bertolt said that we'd only go back one more time to get her and Historia. Funny that her and Historia are back in the Wall Kingdom, so that would be your incentive. I thought that we'd get a lot more. The first couple episodes, I was like, okay, we got this Pastor Nick character. Him and Levi are going to be a big thing and have some really important conversations, and we didn't get it. So I don't know if we just haven't had it yet. If Levi's going to go question him in season 3. Back in episode 3, back when Pastor Nick was first telling us all about Historia and her importance, I'm not going to lie, I thought that Pastor Nick was one of the Colossal or Armored Titans. I thought he was one of the Titans. I really thought that Pastor Nick was a Titan shifter, and that he was going to be one of the two, and that because at first, in episode 3, it looks like they're taking Pastor Nick to the wall with them, and I was like, okay, they're taking the pastor to the wall, he's going to get to the wall and turn into a Titan, it's going to be this big reveal, he knows things about the Titans because he is one, like, that's what I thought it was going to do. I thought he was going to turn into a Titan, and it was going to be this big battle, and it was going to be like, oh, Pastor Nick's a Titan shifter, and then it was going to reveal the other Titan, and I had a big theory about it. And as soon as we got to episode 4, I started to doubt that theory. And then by the time we got it confirmed in episode 6, I was like, oh, Pastor Nick's just a pastor. So, womp womp. But I really thought we'd have more of him in this season with Levi especially. And that's not happened yet. So, not sure if we're going to go back to that in season 3. I expected more focus with Erwin and Levi, especially at the end of season 1, there's kind of them challenging each other about Eren, and season 1 was all about them challenging each other, and we'll talk more about that in the ships, but I really thought there'd be more conversations with them, and we start to get it at the end of season 2. We start to go back into it, and so I'm hoping it's going to extend into season 3, now that 48-hour jaunt of season 2 is over, that we're going to get more back into the main plot and things happening with their characters. I thought we'd get more with the military police and politics, but again, this season is so condensed that it makes sense why we didn't get that focus yet. But I thought we'd have more Marlowe and Hitch. We didn't have any Marlowe and Hitch, except for episode 1. We really had no Marlowe and Hitch. They've been introduced. They're still alive. I'll talk about expectations and predictions for season 3 at the end of this video, but I really thought we'd get more with them. I thought we'd have a lot more character deaths, to be honest, too, which we've gotten tons of minor deaths, like there's been Survey Corps members left and right die, but the named characters were few and far between, which is fine. I'm glad. It means my main characters that I like are still safe for the time being, but I really thought we'd have a lot more death, especially compared to season 1 in this season. I really expect more Titan lore. Again, this is a quote from season 1's recap and review. We know so much, but still so little. It's the same. It's the same as season 1. We still know so little, but we're learning more and more and starting to piece it together. Jean and Armin, they were separated for most of this season. I really wanted to see them work together more, and I expected it, but they were separated up until the last couple of episodes. The episodes 11 and 12, we got to see them work together more, which I'm glad, and I hope that season 3 we get more of that. But I was kind of surprised that they were separated throughout much. I was surprised Jaunt was separated from the main group most of this season. I don't know if that's Isayama just being like, I want to keep Jaunt alive, so I'm going to separate him from everybody else and keep him with Erwin so he can be safe until we need him. But also it makes sense because Jaunt had that moment where he realized about Bertolt and Reiner and was like, oh, they were responsible for Marco's death too then. So it kind of makes sense plot-wise that he was left with Erwin. And then Mikasa's jealousy. I really thought that Mikasa would be like on a steamroller path, which she kind of is, to protect Eren, but we really don't see a lot of Mikasa jealousy. We just see her rage, which is great. It's wonderful. And I expected more on on politics in the royal family, but we still had too much condensed plot. I feel like that's going to be something saved for later, especially now that Historia is back. We're going to talk about that later, but now that Historia is back within the walls and people know that her name is Historia, I feel like next season we're going to get back into that politic and royal family information that we need. So, theories. Okay, y'all. All right. Ever since season 1, I've had theories about Eren, and I've hesitated to say them because, one, I think they sound, not that they sound stupid, but I think these theories that I have are presumptuous, and they're only taking into account, I wanted to wait until the end of season 2, because season 1 presents Eren in a certain light as our main character and our protagonist, and I wanted to see what season 2 would do with Eren before I vocalized my theories, because I wanted to see if they would be supported or refuted by this season. And they kind of were both. So I felt really confident about my theories up until this last episode. And in this last episode of season 2, I was like, I need to rethink this. So hear me out. I've got a long-winded theory about Eren, and please don't spoil me. I know Eren is our main character. We're only halfway through the series. His character is going to develop a lot, especially now that we know he's the coordinate and there's that to take into account. I get it, but hear me out. So, ever since season 1, episode 21, I have had this idea in my head about Eren and about this series in general and the storytelling in general. And since season 2, my idea has been really complicated and expanded, and so I need to flesh it out for you all. But initially, because Eren is a very intriguing main character. He is flawed, and I like flawed main characters. I don't like perfect prodigies or main characters that are boring. Eren is not boring. He is the least boring character in this series. He's so engaging to watch, but he is very flawed. We've talked about this in the reactions. He has a very narrow focus. He has anger issues. He lets his emotions get the better of him. He sometimes fails to see outside perspectives, and he's not patient enough sometimes to hear the other side of the story. So he has a lot of flaws, very human flaws, very big flaws that any of us can have, and most of us do have. So he's relatable. And I like that about Eren a lot. And I said in the last reaction for episode 12, I give Eren a hard time. And I think some of it's fostered by this theory that I have, but I'm going to try my best to be more neutral on Eren in season 3 because I want to see if this theory plays out. I want to see. But here's my theory. Ever since season 1, episode 21, which was Crushing Blow, I've had this theory that this entire story with Eren as our main character is not the story of a hero. This is a villain's origin story. Hear me out. I feel, now villain, after season 2 is concluded, villain might not be the right word, because again, we go back and we're going to talk about this in the themes. We go back to the idea of who's the enemy. That might not be the best word now. And after season 2, I figured out that that's not the word I want. Knowing what we know now, my theory has changed to be that Eren, I think, is being set up to be the antagonist of the series. He's being set up to be the antagonist. And Here's my reasons why. Hear me out on this. I could be totally wrong. He could become the savior, the hero of the whole story, and it could be very shonen hero things, but there's just something about it. Here's the thing. There's the concept of no good deed goes unpunished that happens with Eren. Eren has tried his best this entire series to act with resolve and get vengeance on his mother's death and on his family and friends and the people within the wall, to get vengeance on them against the Titans. That has been it. He has been set up as a loner since season 1. He's been set up as straying from the pack. He's strayed from Mikasa and Armin and to go off and do heroic deeds by himself. He's been set up as wanting to he's like, if you just depend on me, like back in episode 14 of season 1, he's like, just rely on me and you won't have to worry about anything. Like setting himself up to be the end-all be-all force that can save people rather than work as a team. And we saw that he did work as a team with Levi Squad until they died. And then he was working with the Survey Corps. And then he kind of wanted to go off and do his own thing to kill Carla's Titan that killed her. But there's that. There's Eren and the Titan when he told Annie in episode 21 that he wanted to tear her up and eat her. And in episode 25, he talked about destroying humanity when he was going crazy in Titan form. But my theory's been reworked, because after that, when I learned that a lot of those parts were anime only, I started to have my doubts about this theory. But season 2 has complicated and reaffirmed some things for me. Eren straddles this line between humanity and Titandom. And here's the thing that makes me think that Eren is going to become an antagonist. Each side, whether it's Titandom or humanity, has societal restrictions surrounding it, or a cage surrounding it, which is the last thing that Eren wants. Eren does not like structure of any kind. He resists structure. He has resisted structure since the very beginning. He joined the Survey Corps and went through the cadet training because it was a means to an end. But at the end of the day, when it comes to taking orders and listening to people, he does it, but he doesn't really like doing it. He likes doing things his own way. And in episode 12, when Armin was trying to get to him, he's like, don't you want to go outside the walls? And he's like, of course I do, because I was born. I have the right to go outside the walls and do whatever I want. That's freedom to Eren. Freedom to Eren is not being confined within a societal structure. He just wants to explore outside the walls and be his own person. But here's the problem. In either world, in either Titandom or humanity, I don't think that's possible for Eren. Because we don't know enough about the Titan world to know how it's structured. But clearly there is a hierarchy. Someone is telling Reiner and Bertolt to do the things that they're doing, or are convincing them to do the things that they're doing. There's some kind of hierarchy there. We don't know enough about it. So again, my theory is very work in progress. It's very flawed. It's not complete at all. And my thoughts are kind of all over the place with it. But there's clearly a structure there. Eren hates the Titans. He hates Reiner and Bertolt. So he's not going to go along with them. No. I don't think Eren's going to join the Titandom at all. I really don't. They've done enough, that they've pissed him off enough. Like I said, when Eren commits, he commits. And he hates their guts. He's not going back on that. They have destroyed his trust. His trust is gone in Eren, in Reiner and Bertolt. It's not coming back. I feel like once you destroy Eren's trust, it's really, really hard, if not impossible, to win it back. And Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt have destroyed that trust. So they're on his shit list. But here's the problem. Right now, I was starting to be conflicted about my theories at the end of episode 12, because I was like, okay, well, Eren has this resolve to help the Survey Corps to attack the Titans. He has this resolve to help them. So maybe he won't be the antagonist. But the problem is, the Wall Kingdom itself has a societal structure. It has a structure in place. And the military has a structure in place. And they will expect Eren to do things like they tell him to. And at the end of the day, I just feel like something's going to happen and Eren's going to resist the structure and say, I don't want to do that. Because we started to get previews of that way back in episode 3 when Hanji was like, oh, we'll just take you to Wall Rose and you can just use your skin hardening powers that we think you have, which I don't think he has, and you'll just plug up the hole. And Eren was like, okay. And they're like, we'll just use you to do that. And he had this whole thing, like, Eren had a moment where he said, oh, you're going to use me. Erwin was like, Eren's the key to all this. They put so much pressure on Eren to be the end-all be-all savior of humankind. And Eren is a linchpin. He's very important to this entire series and to humanity's safety. But that's a lot of pressure to put on one person. A lot. Especially a person like Eren, who is extremely volatile emotionally and doesn't like to be bossed around. Like, so I don't know. I can't see Aaron siding with the Titans after this season because he blames them for Carla's death and the death of so many others. But it's set up this season that humanity is dependent upon Aaron and plans to use him either to patch the wall, or if people in the wall cult think he's literally a god, that pressure could get to him over time. Like he has his resolve now because it's fresh from that battle and he's got his conviction and everything. But Jean's words to him being like, you've got to prove that the price these people paid is worth it. I'm like, those words may come back to bite Jean, because that's a lot of pressure to put on someone, right? A lot of pressure. And here's the other thing. In episode 11, Aaron seems in shock with Armin's deception against Bertolt and Reiner. Aaron has trust issues. He has had trust issues from the start. With several different people, with the reveal of Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt, he had trust issues established with them. And so Armin's deception, while it was to benefit humanity and to help save Aaron, at the same time, it could open up Aaron's eyes that both sides of the coin are untrustworthy. Humanity can be just as untrustworthy as the Titans. And so Aaron is a very honest character. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He is honestly compassionate. And here's the thing, a lot of villains, they start with good intentions. They start from a good place, and then something happens to warp their perception and turn them into antagonists. And so we don't know what's going to go down in season 3. But the look on Aaron's face when Armin was lying to Bertolt and Reiner, it just seemed like in that moment it was showing Aaron that, oh, my best friend can be just as deceptive as Reiner and Bertolt are. And I'm wondering if that's going to come back. If Armin's going to try to tell Aaron something and Aaron in the moment questions whether Armin's telling the truth or not because of that moment, I just wonder about it. So Aaron, he has his hatred towards Bertolt and Reiner. I almost wonder if with Levi, because Levi's been set up as like a mentor figure for Aaron this entire time. I wonder if it's going to be like in Star Wars, like an Anakin and Obi-Wan thing, where Levi's like Obi-Wan and he's trying to train Aaron and help him to because Levi even told Aaron at the start of the season, he's like, keep your emotions in check. And Aaron just couldn't do it. I mean, at the end, it all paid off. But there were several moments during the season where he just couldn't keep those emotions in check. And so I wonder if Levi's going to continue to try to work with Aaron. And at some point, Aaron's just going to snap. And then Levi's going to have to turn on him. And what that's going to do, y'all, I just get those vibes. And then, but here's the thing. So in episode 12, it brings back Aaron with his cause and resolve to help humanity and use his power of the coordinate. So that's thrown this whole theory into question. I'm like, will this disconnect even happen? I feel like whatever is in the basement is a catalyst for what's going to happen with Aaron's character. Because Grisha, I put my notes here. I'm like, Grisha, why didn't you tell Aaron more? Why didn't you take him with you? What? It's just, I don't know. If Aaron doesn't become the villain, which again, who's the enemy? I could see Aaron becoming a third-party antagonist. Someone that is kind of like, if you've ever watched Code Geass, kind of like Lelouch. Lelouch and Code Geass, and I won't spoil it for you, but he basically inadvertently, or he plans it actually. It's kind of like Code Geass, where Lelouch plans to get both sides against him. Only in this case, Aaron doesn't plan to get both sides against him, but it just happens. Is it going to be something like Code Geass, where Aaron becomes the antagonist, and it's like the antagonist to both the Titans and humanity? I don't know. I just, in my gut, that's where it seemed like it was going up until this last episode. Because in episode 11, at the end of it, I was thinking, okay, if Aaron tries to stop the Titan that killed Carla and things go south and Hannes or somebody gets killed because of them, like, will Aaron get mad and run off? Will something happen? Like, there were so many what ifs and question marks at the end of episode 11. I didn't know what was going to happen. And it seems like at the end of this episode, Aaron has his resolve and he's going to help humanity. But I just feel like there's been seeds planted in this season, especially, that are just putting up tiny little red flags. Like, Aaron doesn't like to be used. Aaron has trust issues. we're establishing the possibility of there being trust issues later on with humanity, and that they're going to try to use him. And if he doesn't want to do it and they try to make him anyway, I don't know. So that is my long-winded theory about Aaron. I don't know if it's right or not, but I get that unsettling vibe. Since the beginning, Aaron has not been like the kind and he's been compassionate, and he's been dedicated and has incredible resolve. And then his power as the coordinate. His power can work either way. He could either have Titans attack other Titans or attack humanity. We don't know. So his power could even have a Titans attack both sides. I don't know. I get third party antagonist vibes from Aaron. The question is with season 3 if we're gonna get there or not. If Aaron's gonna get pushed over the edge. That's what I don't know. And I could be totally wrong. This could all be a far-fetched theory, and Aaron ends up becoming the protagonist that stops the Titans and goes against Reiner and Bertolt and is gung-ho with humanity the whole time. That'd be great. I'm more terrified of Aaron as a third-party antagonist than I am sticking with either side. So I don't know, y'all. But y'all have asked me to talk about Aaron and my theory about him. That's my theory about him. And it's probably crackpot. Probably has no bearing on what's going to happen. But I had to get that off my chest. So, other theories that I've got. Where's Grisha been? What has he been doing? I think that Grisha is working with the Titan Shifters. I think that Grisha is either working with the Titan Shifters or he's connected to them. He's connected to the military, police, and the government that's giving goods in the black market. I think he's connected to that. Although the Beast Titan made note that they didn't know what the ODM gear was. The Beast Titan didn't know what the ODM gear was. So they've had the ODM gear for a bit, right? So why is the Beast Titan just now coming over to find it? I don't know. But Grisha has some connection to all this, and we're going to find out in season 3, I'm sure. But are there Titans that are stronger than Reiner and Bertolt? I'm terrified of that. The Beast Titan, I think, is stronger than Reiner and Bertolt, or at least stronger than Reiner. So I'm terrified that back in their hometown, there's other Titan shifters that are just as scary as Reiner and Bertolt. That's terrifying. Reiner and Bertolt are trying to get back home. What is home? Why do they have to complete the mission? What's the penalty if they fail? Ymir went back with them as a souvenir to say they brought back something, and Bertolt seemed thankful that she did that. Like, oh God, if we'd gone back with nothing, what would have happened to us? You know, gone back with nothing and with 2 less Titan shifters, because Annie's kidnapped and Marcel's dead. So Reiner being thankful that Ymir went with them makes a lot of sense now. You know? So what is the penalty if they fail? And so then the coordinate. The idea of what the coordinate does. So what Aaron can do. Like I said in the reaction, the coordinate in this case seems to be like a noun. It organizes things together. It's apparent why they would want the coordinate. The coordinate has an insane ability, and you'd want that on your side because you could eventually organize all these Titans to attack humanity directly, or you could coordinate it against other Titans or powerful foes. Again, either way, this is again going on the theory that Aaron's going to turn against both sides, because you've got humanity that wants to use Aaron's ability to attack the Titans. You have the Titans that want to use Aaron's ability to attack humanity. And that leaves Aaron no room for his own opinion. His voice is silenced. We talked about it in episode 11 that someone had noted that Aaron's Titan form cannot speak because its jaw is a certain way. How symbolic is that Aaron as a Titan cannot speak? He can't voice his own opinions because of the way that he's structured. It's such a reflection on the fact that right now in this, Aaron thinks at the end of season 2 that he has agency and that Aaron has authority, right? Because he has resolve, and his resolve is, oh, we're going to take on the Titans. I'm going to use my power. I'm in control of this situation. But the reality is the Survey Corps is going to tell Aaron how to use his powers and when to use it. They're going to try to control him to an extent. Maybe not control him with ill intentions. Maybe not control him against his will seemingly. But at the end of the day, if Aaron wants to go do his own thing, they're going to tell him, no, you've got to do this for humanity. And so it's just setting stuff up. Aaron's going to be left without a voice. And like any of us, when you're left in that position, you want to lash out. So I don't know if that's going to end up happening. And then my other theory is the hometown by the sea. Is it the one by the sea in the ED, or is it something like it? Because the ED for season 2 kind of like sets it up like maybe these towns were abandoned and the Titans just came in and took over. So I think my theory is that the town in the ED is the hometown. It's where the Titans are at. It's by the sea. And a lot of you commented saying herring is a saltwater fish. And I'm like, okay, it's by the ocean. That's where the hometown is. Okay, cool. I think that's what it is. Now the question is, how far away from Wall Maria is it? Are we like right by the ocean anyway? Or what do we do? I don't know. So yeah, those are my theories. We did have some things answered from season 2 predictions way back in the last review, recap, and RIP. We got to find out who the Colossal and Armor Titans were. Yeah. I can't believe that I inadvertently figured out it was Bertolt and Reiner. I didn't, officially come out and be like, they're definitely the Colossal and Armor Titans. I just had theories that they were, but I'm glad that turned out to be it. We found out where Connie and Sasha's group was going at the end of season 1. We found that out right out the bat. We found out who and what Ymir is. The question is, though, I still have a question about Ymir. It was somewhat answered. Some of you brought this up. Ymir was a given name to her. It was very much like Historia. It was a given name, like Krista was to Historia. It was a given name. Is there anything behind that? Behind why Ymir was given that specific name? Will we learn Ymir's real name? Like we did with Historia. Does it matter? There's a lot of parallels we've drawn between Historia and Ymir. So my question would be, are we going to get into, with these characters, especially with Ymir, what her name actually means and how that ties to the story? I don't know. Surprises? There's a lot of surprises in this season. A lot of surprises. The Beast Titan. What? The Beast Titan's appearance and disappearance in the show. So, my question with the Beast Titan is, why does he not want Bertolt and Reiner to get back to him? I guess, did he just pop up to show Bertolt and Reiner, like, I'm still here, I'm still watching y'all get the job done? Why doesn't he get the job done? I guess the Beast Titan, the way his limbs and stuff are set up, I guess he can't really kick through the wall. He's not like the Colossal Titan where he has that power. But he just shows up and pieces out. I'm like, why? All right. The surprise. Connie's village was turned into Titans. That set up a whole nother thing of the fact that humans can be turned into Titans forcibly against their will. That's terrifying because it has me thinking like, is any of our cadet crew going to be turned into Titans against their will? How will that work? Ymir was. Who's to say that Connie or Sasha can't be? Connie's whole village was turned into Titans, so who's to say that Connie can't be turned into a Titan himself? That's terrifying. Other surprises. Annie wasn't present this season except in name. Annie was not working alone. At the end of the season, I thought that Annie was the one working alone. Hell, she had a clique. She had a Mean Girls clique. Ymir was the one working alone, which is funny. It was Ymir being the solo Titan. Annie was working with Reiner and Bertolt and Marcel. How the reveal of Bertolt and Reiner was handled. Warrior is still, I think that's probably one of the best TV reveals I've ever seen. And it's the simplest, most nonchalant reveal of a character ever. And it's just so well handled and perfect. It's like you've had suspicions, you've thought all these theories, and then Isayama's like, yeah, cool, I'm just gonna come out and say it. It's fun times. Ymir being a Titan, Krista having a different name, and a connection to the church. At the beginning of season 2, to think that Ymir and Historia would become these major characters in this series, I had them in B and C rank. I didn't think we'd see them or hear from them at all. It's crazy how far they've come since the start of this season. How much we've learned about their characters, how much their characters have become likable characters. Like, they're some of my favorite characters now. I'm like, what the heck? I'm floored. I'm very floored. The fact that Ymir, Reiner, Bertolt, Annie, and possibly Aaron have eaten people, that surprised me a lot. Because if they're suggesting that to become a Titan shifter, you have to eat another human, and the fact that Aaron's done that, that's interesting. That's a surprise. Levi being absent most of this season. I was glad that Levi and Jean were absent for most of the season because If they're not on screen, they're not dying. so I was like, okay, especially because Levi was injured, I'm like, he needs to stay off screen for most of this season to heal up. But unfortunately, it's only been 2 days, so there's not been a lot of time to heal anyway. So I'm worried that Levi's going to get kind of shoved to the side because of his injury, but we'll see, I guess. The Northern Lights deity and the concept of freedom. Holy crap. This idea of this divine presence that gives you Titan Shifter powers or is connected to it somehow. That was a surprise. I figured we'd get into like some kind of supernatural or divine elements, especially with Pastor Nick being introduced and the whole wall cult and things like that. But I didn't think we'd actually see it. I didn't think we'd see this whole Northern Lights deity thing this season. I thought they'd save it for like later if it was going to be something that popped up. But there it is with Ymir. Bertolt being the Nightmare Fuel Titan in episodes 6 and 7. I really thought after Aaron's stint as the Nightmare Fuel Titan in episode 10 of season 1 that's the last time we'd see like a half-formed Titan. But Bertolt like clinging to the wall and being halfway formed, Nightmare Fuel indeed. The same goes with the fact that, here's the thing, Bertolt and Reiner never did the skin hardening technique this whole season like Annie did. And neither did Aaron. So it leads me to believe that maybe Annie's the only one that can do it. But that leads the question, because if we think the whole wall itself is made from Titans that have this same ability, are there certain Titan families that have certain abilities? Are Titan traits genetic? Can Titans have babies? Can Titan shifters have babies? And are those traits genetic? Are Reiner, Bertolt, Annie, and Marcel, were they born within the Titan village and they come from Titan shifters or other Titans? Or are they just humans that were captured and turned into Titans and became shifters along the way? We still don't know enough about it, but it's a surprise that it seems that certain Titans have certain traits. Very interesting. Again, Aaron's ability as the coordinate. I find it hilarious because he's not a good leader, we've established. He's not really a leader type, and he likes being by himself. So you give a character who's a loner and not the best leader the ability to control mass armies. Why did you do that, Isayama? That's, like Reiner said, he's the worst person to have this ability. Because one, he's not a leader and not a team player. He's a loner. And two, he has really huge emotional issues. So you give him the power to control others. Awesome. That will in no shape or form be a bad thing down the road. Oh my gosh. As soon as we figure out what the coordinate was, I'm like, oh buddy. Yeah. About that. So I don't know what's going to happen in season 3 with that, but it's just hilarious that our loner character has the ability to coordinate everybody together. He can make his own parties. It's a fun time. So Marco's death being brought up again. Only now with more Titans involved. Only now, it's like Marco's death, only now with 20% more Titans. I just want him to rest in peace. And you all have been like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, here's the thing. Don't spoil me. I know they're going to show it one more time, right? Because when we got the whole thing of Marco's death with Jean, I was really sad and I was really frustrated because, like I said back in season 1, I was like, man, it's such a shitty death because we don't get to see how it happened, and it's just out of nowhere and it's off screen and he's one of our main characters. And then I'd resigned myself to the fact that we'd never talk about it again. And then this season he pops back up. And only this time I want to see it one more time because we didn't get the context of why he was being eaten. I get why he was being eaten, and I can kind of see why Reiner and Annie Bertolt wouldn't save him, but at the same time I'm like, there has to be more to it. So don't spoil me. I'm sure that we'll see it at least one more time. I just don't know when, and don't tell me when, but I want to see him. I'm going to resign myself to be like, okay, we're going to see Marco's death one more time to get closure. Yeah. So also surprising is the fact that Aaron and Reiner is being set. I never pictured Aaron and Reiner as rivals until Warrior because Aaron and Reiner seemed like they were pals and they're very similar characters, right? We'll talk about this in the character tier. They're very similar characters. And so I didn't see this being set up, but it makes so much sense now that you have Reiner versus Aaron. that you're setting up these two colossal, pun intended, colossal characters that have very compassionate souls but stubborn mindsets, and you're pitting them against each other. It all makes sense now. It also makes sense, Mikasa versus Bertolt, because Mikasa and Bertolt are like Eren and Reiner's support characters. They're both very strong. Bertolt has the colossal titan form, which is probably the strongest of the titans that we know of so far. Mikasa is probably one of the most talented members of the Survey Corps that we know of so far, with the exception of like Levi. And so yeah, it makes sense you have Mikasa versus Bertolt. And that shot of them looking at each other in between Reiner's fingers is still one of my favorite shots of the whole season. So insane. And then there's also been Mikasa versus Reiner hinted at. We got the flashback from episode 7. We got the flashback of Mikasa throwing Reiner, and then she was going up against him here too. So we got kind of like a quad. Not really Eren versus Bertolt necessarily, but Eren versus Reiner, Mikasa versus Bertolt, and Mikasa versus Reiner, which is pretty interesting. I can't believe we got connection to the Titan from Ilse's notebook. The female Titan that saw Ilse, that saw Ymir, and then came back and met Ilse later, and was the same Titan from back then. The fact that we learned that Titans, it's kind of like non-binary. They're just Titans that are just in bodies. It doesn't matter what their gender is. It could be a woman and a Titan that looks like a male, vice versa. Ymir's Titan looks kind of masculine, but it's not. So that was an interesting surprise. And then Annie and Bertolt. I'm going to save it for shipping, but huge surprise. I was like, Armin's resolve and his character complexity. Armin becoming a demon. And we'll talk about that in the characters. But yeah, that was a surprise. The Titan that killed Carla coming back. I didn't think we'd ever see that Titan again, and there it was. And then the fact that we're still not in the basement yet. I thought we'd be there by now, but it's all right. It's going to happen one of these seasons, and I'm going to freak out when it does, but it's going to be great. So those are the surprises. There's a lot that surprised me this season. A lot. And I was really, really happy with how much I didn't expect coming into this season. And the thing of it is, I have no clue where we're going to after this. So all of season 3 is going to be a surprise, which is terrifying, but also really exciting. So with that being said, we're on toast number 3. Toasting Lynn from episode 4. Lynn was the dark-haired woman with the ponytail. She, in episode 3, tried to comfort Connie and told him that, oh, your family didn't die. Look, they got away. There's no blood on the ground. They escaped. So Lynn tried to make Connie feel better. And then when the Beast Titan threw like a giant rock at Utgard Castle, she ended up dying. So R.I.P. Lynn, you died too soon. My theories that were right and wrong, I don't have a lot of these to talk about. The only theory I got right was that Bertolt and Reiner were Titans. That was it. That's the only theory I got right. And here's the thing. At the time, I was like, oh, I'm going to be great at predicting Titans from here on in. But at the very end of the season, we see the Beast Titan, who has dark brown fur covering him, like a monkey. And then the man that gets out of his body is blonde. So that throws that off. That throws that theory out the window. I thought that I'd be able to predict people that could become Titans from here on in, but I don't think so anymore. Ugh. So that was the only theory I got right. The theories that I got wrong, I guess Connie's family being turned into Titans, I kind of got that right, but we just don't know fully how yet. The how has not been fully explained. Wrong theories. How I thought the plots were going to go. Again, the basement thing. I thought we'd have more Carla and Grisha flashbacks, but we got Carla in this season, which was good, and that tied to episodes 11 and episode 12. And Eren's resolve to protecting Mikasa and the others. So there was that, which I was grateful for. But we didn't get any Grisha at all this season. No Grisha. Not whatsoever. So I don't know what to make of that, but I feel like Carla's whole plot was kind of resolved with that Titan being eaten. So I feel like now maybe season 3 and 4 will focus on the Grisha side of it. Where the hell's he been? Don't know. And then predicted deaths. I had predicted Hannes was going to die. And he did. I could not have predicted Mike. I predicted that Erwin, Moblet, and Bertolt were going to die in this season. I thought Erwin was going to die in episode 12. After his arm was gone, I was like, and throughout all of episode 12, I kept looking around in the episode being like, where's the Titan going to attack him from? Like, I kept thinking Erwin was just going to die, but he didn't. I kept thinking Moblet was going to die, like he wasn't going to make it back to Hanji to tell them about Connie's village, but he did make it back because at the very end, we see that Hanji has all the info. So he did make it back, so Moblet's alive that we know of. And then I really thought Bertolt was going to die in the season finale. Because here's the thing. If humanity really wants to take out a key player of the Titans, they've got to kill Bertolt. Bertolt is a big part of the Titan power structure. Because Bertolt being able to become the Colossal Titan, that's huge. That's it's literally huge. But Bertolt is very much a crux to the Titans, just like Eren is a crux to humanity. So I feel like Bertolt, for this story to really get into the end game, Bertolt's probably going to die at some point. But we don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know when. But I get that vibe that Bertolt's been very sympathetic in this season. Like, he's had a lot of emotional range, and we've gotten more into his character a lot. And I'm like, you're setting Reiner and Eren up, like, as the main guys. Here's the thing, if you're going to really get at a character's resolve and you're really going to hurt somebody, people were talking about this in the comments, like, Christopher, I think it was you talking about it, like, why do people go to war? And it's oftentimes to protect people they care about. And Bertolt is very special to Reiner, like, whether you ship them romantically or I just think they're like best bros, but Reiner and Bertolt's very important to Reiner. So I'm like, if Bertolt dies, it's not only going to be a big crushing blow, so to speak, to the Titans, but it's going to piss off Reiner beyond all belief, because that will be one of his best comrades. And so I get the feeling that Reiner is going to make it, and I'll talk about this in the character thing, but I have a feeling that Bertolt is going to die at some point. But I don't know if it's going to be next season or in the final season. I just feel like at some point when we get to the climax, neither side can win. Humanity cannot win against the Titans if Bertolt's still around. That's the crux of it. Humanity cannot win against the Titans if Bertolt's still there, because the fact that he can become the Colossal Titan is really, really important. Although Erwin showed that if you just injure him, he can't become the Colossal Titan, and it's a whole different thing. I don't know. So those are my theories that were right and wrong, which leads us to toast number 4, which is to Henning. I don't know much about Henning, just that they were a Survey Corps member, but they died alongside Lin. So at least Lin didn't die alone, and Henning died protecting the others from the Titans. So a toast to Henning, Survey Corps member, died in episode 4, gone too soon. Okay. So we're going to talk now about themes that have resonated throughout the series. Definitely the idea of humanity in a cage. It calls back to season 1, and it calls back to the ED in this. But the idea of, if you're in a bird cage, in the ED for season 2, there was the idea that you're not alone in the bird cage, so it's okay. So the whole question of ignorance is bliss comes to mind. Because Eren from the get-go has wanted to be free from this cage that he feels like the walls have put him in. And so the question is freedom better? The answer obviously is, of course it is. But it's like, freedom comes with a price. And the idea of the series is, ignorance is bliss. Do you really want to know everything? Because sometimes the truth can be worse than the lie, right? And so freedom comes with a cost. And so taking what we know from season 1 and applying it to now, especially with Ymir's journey and perhaps the concept of the Titans, what is this power? Does it come without sacrifice? It doesn't seem like it is. It seems like there's some kind of sacrifice they have to make to have this power. Because it's not just the fact of turning into a Titan. It's that they can regenerate. They can heal their wounds. They can regenerate their bodies. There has to be something with that. And it kind of goes back to the whole Blood of the King thing in Ymir's backstory, where they were like, oh, well, as long as we have the Blood of the King with us, we'll be immortal. And so it's like, oh, if you're in Titan form, you're technically immortal because you can heal yourself, unless, the nape's cut. You can heal yourself. You don't need food or water. You're technically immortal. So what do we do with that? So I just feel like there's something about being able to come with a Titan that comes with a cost. And we don't know. Bertolt and Reiner make it seem like it is. And so we don't know exactly what that is yet. So there's also the idea of not regretting decisions. From season 1, we had no regrets with Levi and Erwin. We had no regrets with Levi talking to Aaron. But now we complicate that even more. We add Bertolt, Reiner, and Ymir's resolve alongside Armin, Mikasa, and Aaron's resolve. So the idea that with the choices we make, we've got to stick with them. And that ties back to Bertolt in episode 11. He's like, I know y'all can't forgive me. I'm not asking for an apology. He's like, but I don't regret my decision. I'm moving forward with it. But it seems like he is regretting his decision somewhat. So it's interesting. But yeah, but there is the idea of not regretting the decisions and having that resolve. I talked about this in episode 11, but there's the idea of the trios and the mind, body, and soul represented. So we have 3 main trios in Attack on Titan. We have Armin, Mikasa, and Annie. Armin, Mikasa, and Aaron. Bertolt, Reiner, and Annie. And Erwin, Hanji, and Levi. And I said in episode 11 that you have to have all 3 to have a solid unit. When they're separated, it's not so good, right? You need all 3 to have a solid unit. We've seen that without Aaron, Mikasa and Armin kind of fall apart. They need Aaron without, in their group. And we've seen that without Annie, Bertolt and Reiner, they kind of falter too. Like they aren't together. And then the same thing goes without Erwin or without Levi. It's just not the same. So all 3 trios need each other to be complete, right? They need each other to be complete. And so without Annie or Aaron, we see both Reiner and Bertolt and Mikasa and Armin as struggling. So that's really interesting. There's also the idea that in those trios, there's the 4th member that comes in, right? So we saw that in episode 12 with Erwin and Hanji and Levi, we saw that Pixis was the 4th member. Pixis is the 4th member, which is funny because it relates to, with Armin, Mikasa, and Aaron, Jean is the 4th member. And a lot of you commented back in season 1, you were like, man, it would have been cool if Jean could have shadowed under Pixis. And I'm like, oh yeah. So because now Jean's kind of the 4th person in this trio. Pixis is the 4th person in this trio. And then for Reiner and Bertolt and Annie, Marcel was the 4th person, but he's gone. So it's really cool. This interchangeable, and I guess Ymir could fall into that now. Ymir kind of falls into where Marcel was because Ymir took Marcel's power. So it's interesting we have this 4th member added to it. Very interesting. And that ties to the 3 walls, Maria, Rose, and Cena. It's the rule of 3. 3 is the magic number in a lot of literary tropes. And I feel like it's coming through in Attack on Titan, definitely. So does that mean season 3 is going to be the craziest season? I don't know. Man, the web of relationships in this series, though, the web of relationships, holy cow. The idea that especially between episodes 3 and 5, 8 and 9, and 11 and 12, and I guess 10 could throw in with 8 through 10. Episodes 1 and 2 were set up of the season and of the conflict and of all the weird lore. Episodes 3 and 5, we got the Utgard Castle crew, and we got to see Ymir and Historia and Bertolt and Reiner and Connie and Sasha all kind of banding together and the relationships that were developing between those characters. And then in episodes 6 and 7, things went to hell in a handbasket when the Titans were revealed and there was a battle. And then episodes 8 and 9 and 10 were not only developing the relationships of Armin, Mikasa, and the Survey Corps, but between the Titans as well. And then episodes 11, 12 were those web of relationships all coming together. And it was like the culmination and the fruits of your labor. It's like the fruits of the labor of the whole season setting up these relationships and then them all coming to a head. And what do we do with that? So it was great. And then what is humanity to the Titan Shifters? What defines resolve and justice? Because that's been the thing, right? Back in season 1, things were so simple. It was just humanity versus the Titans. And the humans it's a black and white issue. Titans are these dumb creatures that just want to eat us for no reason. They just want to kill us. We just need to destroy them. It's kind of like a metaphor for an actual war. You make your enemy seem as awful as possible and as inhuman as possible, because that way it's easier to kill them. You don't feel any guilt about killing a monster because it's not anywhere close to you, right? So if we paint the Titans as just monsters, then we can kill them without any guilt, right? We're just saving humanity. But this season has mucked it all up, because now that Erwin and Levi, especially Levi seems to be having some issues with this. The fact that we know now it's humanity that's just been turned into Titans, now that we're seeing that our enemy is human, perhaps, then it's like just a big metaphor for war. It's getting crazy, and it's getting more and more complicated, right? And so there's also this idea in this season of "to thine own self be true," the phrase "to thine own self be true." And we saw it originally in its most simplest terms with Sasha. We saw that with Sasha in episode 2, where she was struggling with how she grew up and how she was raised, to how she's tried to project herself to society now. And then she saves that little girl by going back to her roots and being herself. And we've seen that with Ymir and Historia. We've seen how Ymir and Historia both struggled with their own agency and their own identities, but it's only when they're true to themselves that they show their most potential, right? And then we see it with Reiner and Bertolt too. Reiner and Bertolt, we see the whole idea of "to thine own self be true." Reiner can't be true to himself because he doesn't really know at this point who himself really is. He's so conflicted with all these different personas. And Bertolt is questioning his own resolve and who he is. So there's a lot of question of identity and agency in this season, and how these characters identify themselves, how they identify their goals, what they're after. That it's fascinating. It's so fascinating to see how they're going about all of this. So then there's also the concept of price and power. There's so much with this whole season. I'm just going through my list here. Here's what I got. The power of price and leadership. What do we sacrifice to fight monsters? Taking from season 1, it not only applies to Erwin, because back in season 1, I was like, okay, well, what do we do to fight monsters? Erwin's kind of a big representation of that question of power and the price of leadership, because Erwin has all this power amassed to him, commanding the Survey Corps, but the price of that is people questioning him left and right, him having to watch his comrades die, him having to move forward and not be emotional. Like, that's the price that Erwin pays to have that power. And so now we see it applied not only to Bertolt, Reiner, and Aaron, but to Armin as well. The power and price of leadership. We've seen it applied to those 4 characters over the course of this series. And it's very, very intriguing. Very intriguing indeed. And I'll talk about characters here in a little bit. But, and then the big question, my last question on the themes part is, who is the enemy? Who knows? Is there a true enemy? Or is it just 2 factions of people fighting for their own ideals and goals? And is there a middle ground? So that brings up the whole thing with Aaron. If Aaron is the third party, is Aaron the middle ground? Does Aaron represent the middle ground of straddling between both humanity and Titandom? Is that where we go? Because the question of when Ymir says who knows about who the enemy is, it's such a representation for the show. Like, it doesn't, the enemy depends on who's asking the question and who's answering, right? If you ask Bertolt and Reiner who the enemy is, it's humanity. If you ask Erwin who the enemy is, it's the Titans. So it all depends on who you ask. And it really just seems like it's 2 factions of individuals fighting for their own goals and ideals. And obviously, we, the audience, can empathize and relate to the humans because we know what they've suffered and lost so far. And Aaron, that's how he empathizes with humanity, because he knows he's lost his mother. But what we don't know is the Titan side of the story. So it's like we've only been given one side of the story, and we've been shown like the cover page of the other side of the story, but not the full book. So I'm hoping season 3 gives us the rest of the story, so that I want to hear both the Titan side and humanity side, and then that will make it to be like, okay, well, do you pick a side at that point, or do you just hope that they both have fun and nobody wins? But yeah, interesting thoughts and theories. So that leads us into toast number 5, which is to either Gelgar or Gerger. I don't know. Some of you said the translation is weird, but it's either Gelgar or Gerger. Dude, I loved Gelgar. I'm going to call him Gelgar because it's easier to say. Gelgar was awesome. He had the pompadour. He was put in charge by Mike. Mike put him in charge. He did such a good job. When Mike put him in charge in episode 1, I was really worried because I was like, Gelgar, you seem like a red shirt. You seem like you're going to die really quick, which he did. He died in episode 4. But I was like, I was afraid that Gelgar would be incompetent But Mike putting him in charge, obviously Mike knew who to trust. And Gelger was great. He was doing really good up until he ran out of gas. He literally ran out of ODM gear gas. And that sucks. But the dude just wanted one drink. He wanted one drink before he died, and we couldn't even give him that show. So I'm going to take an extra long swig for our boy Gelger because he deserves it. A toast to Gelger, who died in episode 4. I wish you could have gotten that drink, man. You definitely deserved it. All right. So, time to rank some episodes. Time to rank some episodes, y'all. So I wanted to do this one of two ways. I wanted to rank the episodes of season 2. There's only 12, so it's not going to take too long. But then I wanted to give my top 10 overall episodes so far. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But this is ordering from number 12 to number 1. It is in no particular order. It is number 12 to 1. I base this off of which episodes I like the most. And I'll justify them briefly here, but just which episodes I like the most. Honestly, here's the thing. I can rarely say this about a season. I think other than Banana Fish, I can only say this about Attack on Titan. There are no bad episodes. There are no bad episodes. Everything's important. Every episode is important. It reveals plot information you need to know. It has character development. It has interactions, everything. There's maybe a minute of recap in some episodes, and that's it. Every episode is important and just as relevant. So ordering these in a numerical order is really hard. So if you disagree with me on this, 100% justified. This is just my personal opinion. It is not objective. This is a totally subjective list. But my top 12 episodes of season 2, Attack on Titan. Number 12 is episode 8, The Hunters. I love this episode. We get moments of Hannes with Mikasa and Armin, but it's the most low-key episode of the season. It's the most low-key, and it's just everybody licking their wounds, and it's a lead-up episode to get prepared for episode 9. So it's just like the aftermath of episode 7, the lead up for episode 9. It doesn't really stand on its own. It's just kind of a transition episode. But it's so good. There are no bad episodes in this season. They're all wonderful. But I had to pick the Hunters as episode 8 as being number 12. Number 11, I hate putting this here. I hate it, but I have to. It's I'm Home. I love I'm Home. I love that episode. It's Sasha being badass. It's setting up the beginnings of Historia and Ymir's whole deal. It's setting up like the thing with Connie's village at the end. It's such a good episode, but it's a standalone episode that if you took it out and just recapped it, you wouldn't lose anything from the plot of season 2. You still would be able to get the plot even if you took it out. So I've got to put it number 11, but I love that episode. This is so hard. It's so hard. Number 10, again, I had this a lot higher on the list, and then the more I watched other episodes, I was like, I gotta put it down. Episode 3, Southwestward. Again, this is a setup episode. Setting up Connie's village being turned into Titans. Setting up Utgard Castle. Setting up everything with Pastor Nick. Like, it's such a setup episode, and it's so important to the plot. And the quiet, when everything gets dark and quiet, and there's no sound, and they're all figuring out that there's no hole in Wall Rose. It's such a good episode, too! But it just doesn't have as many epic moments. And it's, again, a setup episode. So it's number 10. So we're top 10 now. Number 9 is episode 4, Soldier. I love this episode. I love all these episodes in the series, in the season especially. So I don't know why I'm saying that. But episode 4, Soldier. We get the setup of Ymir and Reiner having that conversation about the herring. And that something's up. Bertolt is suspicious and acting like a vaudeville villain, twirling his mustache. It's a setup episode, but it's really like tense and mysterious, and the atmosphere is really cool. I think the atmosphere was a little more tense in Soldier than it was in Southwestward. And plus, we had the introduction of Reiner's soldier persona, right? We had the introduction of that soldier persona and Reiner saving Connie. So I had to put it above Southwestward. But number 8 is episode 7, Close Combat. Again, it's a battle episode. I like it. I love the twist, the cliffhanger of Bertolt falling onto Eren. Eren getting to fight Reiner. It's a great episode for action and shonen content. We get more insight into Mikasa Armin's perspectives against Reiner and Bertolt. We get Connie's perspective. It's a good episode. It's a good fight episode, but there are better fight episodes past it. So it had to stay at number 8. Number 7 is episode 1, Beast Titan. I loved this season premiere. Mike's death was shocking. The Beast Titan speaking was shocking. The introduction of the Beast Titan. It answered questions from season 1 right off the bat. It set the tone for the season, the fast-paced. We're going to get answers. We're going to get reveals. We're going to get lore bombs. It's all going to happen this season. And it was the perfect setup to set the tone and the scale for what the season was going to be about. I loved it. It was great. Number 6 is Historia. So Historia is coming off its episode right after Soldier. I like that we have Soldier, Historia, Warrior back to back. I really feel like Krista and Reiner, that connection, we'll talk about it in the ships, but that connection is not lost on me. But Historia is a great episode, setting up Ymir turning into a Titan, that Reiner and Bertolt know Ymir as a Titan, just didn't know she was a Titan. The whole thing of Historia rooting her on and being like, tear the tower down. Eren getting his first ODM kill halfway through the season. Them all coming together, the gangs all coming together, the beautiful moment between Ymir and Historia, Ymir looking like an angel, Historia looking like an angel to Ymir. Like, it was just a really good episode. And back in episode 4 in Soldier, when Ymir told Historia about the promise they made on the Snowy Mountain, I thought they were going to save that to like season 3, that they weren't going to talk about it at all this season. But then the next episode we get the scene. So it was like, cool, awesome, glad that we got that. And we didn't even get all of it. We don't know exactly her promise to Historia. So that's good. It left us with a little bit of mystery, but there were so many satisfying reveals in that episode. It was great. So we're at the top 5 of season 2. And honestly, again, this list is highly subjective. You could probably reorder these. I will maintain my opinion about number 1. I will explain my opinion about number 1 of this season. I'll explain it in detail, but you could probably sort out the next 4. You could probably reorder in any opening, in any way that you want. I just gave it away. In any way that you want, and I would totally understand it. But yeah, number 5's opening. The chat, who knew? Somebody just commented on YouTube, who knew a chat between the trees with 4 Titans could be so engaging and intense? Yes, the whole episode was just a conversation between Reiner and Bertolt and Eren and Ymir, and it was one of the most intense, crazy, lore bomb-dropping moments of the series so far. There's one more that we're going to talk about in a minute, but it was just great. It was a great episode. I love when characters sit down and talk, and we get to develop their relationships with one another and explore that relationship. And this episode was just all that. So I loved it. Number 4 is Scream, the season finale. I would say the top 4 I really like. Like, I've rewatched the top 4 a couple times now. I really like them. Number 12 is Scream. It's a great season finale. It gives our characters resolve. It wasn't quite as... It's funny, I say it wasn't quite as insane as the top 3 episodes above it, but it was insane enough. I say that these top 4 episodes are insanity. Scream is the fact that we got a nice ending, a positive ending, is something I wasn't expecting from this season finale. I didn't think we'd make it back to Trost in this season finale, honestly. I thought the season finale of this season was going to end in the middle of the battle, and we weren't going to find out the resolution until the next season. That's honestly what I thought. I thought we weren't going to resolve this arc entirely until episode 1 of season 3. I was pleasantly surprised, though, because we got some really good moments out of those last 5 to 10 minutes of the episode. But yeah, Scream is a great episode. Hannes' death gutted me. It was so sad. Eren's voice acting, the screaming and crying and laughing, it's like haunting. It's so good. But speaking of haunting, number 3 is episode 10, Children. I couldn't eat after this episode watching it. I felt that disturbed by the implications of the episode, by the implication of humans being turned into Titans, that they can roam around for decades and decades and not even realize it, that they're trying to eat people to turn into Titan shifters or at least get some form of freedom. That's insanity. The Titan lore that was dropped, the conversation between Ymir and Bertolt is one of my favorite of the series. I love it so far. Like just the quiet conversation. Aaron with the nubs. Aaron fighting Reiner with the nubs. Top 10 anime battles of all time in my book. I love it so much. But yeah, it was just such a great episode. And it just was, it's like Isayama said, oh, you want some Titan lore? Here's a dump truck. Now figure it all out. And it's like, oh my God. It was just a really, really good episode. And so that leaves the top 2. And it's really close, you know. It's really close, but I'm going to say, and y'all, it's probably a controversial opinion, I'm going to say number 2 is Warrior. And here's the thing. Warrior is amazing. I love the reveal. The reveal is what I think people go to. It's the reveal. It's the reveal, the build up to the reveal, the preamble to it, and then afterwards, just everything with Aaron's resolve, you damn traitors, Reiner and Bertolt. It's hard because I waffle back and forth between this and number 1. But I just love episode 6 so much. It is probably one of the most epic episodes of the series. It's just so good. So then that leaves number 1, which is Charge. I had an hour and a half discussion about it. I think that what elevates Charge over Warrior for me is the implications and content of all the discussions, because so much of Warrior is like the shock of the reveal and what happens before and after it, like just the lead up to it and after it. But with Charge, there's so much that I love. There's action, there's suspense, there's the cliffhanger with the Titan that ate Carla's mom, that ate Carla, Aaron's mom. There's the conversation between Bertolt. There's the emotions of Bertolt and Reiner with the others. There's the Survey Corps all surrounding them on top of Reiner's hands. Mikasa and Bertolt's epic confrontation between the fingers. Aaron, like, trying to figure out what to do. I mean, the only thing that Warrior has that Charge doesn't is that Aaron has his moment of resolve. When he's like, you damn traitors. That's the one aspect that Warrior has that Charge doesn't. But Charge has so many more moments of character development than I think Warrior does, that it elevates it just slightly for me, but just barely. Like if you told me you like Warrior over Charge, I'd be like, I understand. I get it. It's totally subjective. So then that leaves the top 10 overall episodes so far. I would say that, and again, this is highly subjective, but my top 10 favorite episodes, these are in no particular order except for the top 2. Top 2 I will not dispute. But so far, number 10 overall is Primal Desires, season 1, episode 13. I like Primal Desires a lot. Aaron lifting the boulder up against the wall, the thing about Marco's death, the whole connection to Aaron being down in the jail cell, everything, the Aaron's resolve, like Primal Desires is a really good episode. Number 9 is Historia. Again, I've talked about it. Number 8 is The Wall. It's the season finale for season 1. It's still really good. It's so epic. Mikasa's now fall line and the Titan in the wall at the end. It's great. Number 7 is season 1, episode 22, The Defeated. Probably one of the most disheartening, sad episodes in the whole series. It's just seeing them all suffer and coming back from their defeat is really bad. And then at the end, it ends with like the worst possible conclusion that Aaron's going to get killed. So it's like, cool. Number 6 is season 1, episode 21, Crushing Blow. Crushing Blow was my top pick for season 1. It's still an amazing episode. I go back to episode 21 a lot. When I told you all about my Aaron theory, I referenced it a lot. It's just a really good episode. The death of the Levi squad, Aaron's whole trust issues, Aaron realizing that he probably should have turned into a Titan a long time ago, Aaron getting kidnapped by Annie, Aaron versus Annie. Like it's a crazy episode and it's one of my favorites. And then the top 5 are all from season 2. So you have Opening, Scream, Children, Warrior, and Charge. I won't dispute the top 2. I think Warrior and Charge are the best episodes of the series so far. I think they're the best. If you wanted to argue Scream up in number 3 spot, I wouldn't argue you. If you wanted to put Crushing Blow or The Defeated up there in the top 5, I wouldn't argue you. But man, Warrior and Charge are such damn good episodes. Like if I go back to rewatch an episode, it's those 2. I really love them. So again, totally subjective. Y'all can disagree with me, and I wouldn't blame you a bit. So those are the episodes, and that leads us to toast number 6, which is Nanaba. Nanaba, my girl. Badass design. a badass design. I really love Nanaba's, the look that she had, the short blonde hair. She was such a fierce leader. She handled everything with such calm, cool demeanor, which is insane because at the moment of her death is one of the most disturbing, I think, in the season, because when she starts screaming at her dad, it's like, damn, Nanaba had a bad childhood and she clearly had a bad home life. But for her to go from that to being a leader like she is in this series, it's pretty awesome. So cheers to Nanaba, girl. I loved your character. You were definitely gone too soon, and we're going to talk about you again in a minute, but R.I.P. girl. So, it is time to talk about ships. Ships! Ships. Ship and chips. I was commenting in the last season that there wasn't a lot of romance in Attack on Titan. Romance is blooming, y'all. Romance is blooming everywhere. But at what cost? Part 2 from season 1. Man, we got some shipping in this season, and I was surprised. I was like, for everything that happened and all of the different plot lines converging and going all different directions, we surprisingly got a lot of romance. So we're just gonna go down this list here. First of all, Jean and Marco. It's like still an OTP, but now with 20% more angst. Like, I felt for Jean in this season when Jean found out about Annie, when he found out about Bertolt and Reiner being involved. I felt so bad for Jean. And you know what? I'll talk about Jean in the character tier, but he handled it all so calmly and coolly. That's like the big difference between him and Eren. Jean can handle like something terrifying like that your loved one was killed by these Titans, like with such calm, for the most part, demeanor. He gets kind of freaked out when he first finds out Reiner and Bertolt were involved. But yeah, Marco and Jean, still OTP. I mean, Jean is our bisexual king, but still OTP for sure. Speaking of OTPs, Ymir and Historia. I'm floored. Y'all had told me back in season 1, you're like, oh, we ship the freckle-faced girl with Krista. And I was like, okay. I mean, they're together in a lot of scenes. They're kind of attached at the hip, but really? No, really. Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time, y'all. Tale as old as time. I freaking love Ymir and Historia. They are an OTP. I cannot picture. I'm sorry, Reiner. I'm sorry, dude. I told you back in episode 4 to go for it with Ymir, with Historia. I told Reiner back in episode 4, I was like, go for it, dude. Now I'm like, oh, Reiner, man, you don't got a chance. It's all Ymir and Historia. It is an OTP for the ages. I love it. I can't picture Ymir with anybody else. I can't picture Historia with anybody else. It's like, sorry about y'all. My question though is, do y'all, and y'all can agree with me or not and comment down below, but do you think that the Titan from Ilse's notebook had a thing for Ymir? The blonde? You know, these blondes and their relationships with everybody. Let me tell you, Armin is the only blonde not getting anything, and I'm kind of mad about it. But the Titan for Ilse's notebook. You know, I kept thinking in the flashback with Ymir in episode 10, because the Titan from Ilse's notebook, when she was a human, she kind of was like always near Ymir, and then when the guards question whether Ymir is the blood of the king or not, Ymir looks at the blonde Titan only as a human, and the Titan's like, don't say anything. And I wonder if that Titan, that human at the time, was trying to keep Ymir safe by having her just be like, just deny it and we'll be fine. But Ymir didn't. So, and the fact that the Titan not only found Ilse and thought it was Ymir and questioned it, but then kept the corpse around in the tree. There's a fine line between whether they were worshiping Ymir as a possible goddess, but then when they turned to Titans, they must have realized that wasn't true. So her keeping the corpse around kind of made me think that maybe the blonde Titan had a thing for Ymir, and it was just unrequited, and so it just kept Ilse's corpse around thinking that it was Ymir. I don't know. That's just what I thought. But these blondes, Reiner and his blondes part 2. Historia, no. And not Annie either. Y'all were like, you ship Reiner and Annie? That's weird. I get it now. I get why you thought that was weird. But yeah, Reiner, nah, he's not with Historia. He's not with Annie. Could he be with Bertolt? I guess. Ymir establishes back in episode 4 that she thinks Reiner doesn't like women, that Reiner's into guys. And that could be Reiner, like Jean, is our bisexual kings. So you have our humanities bisexual king, which is Jean. You have Titan's bisexual king, which is Reiner. I think it's fair that both sides get their own bisexual king. I think that's fair. So I don't really ship Reiner with anybody right now. I don't really ship Reiner with Bertolt. I think that they're bros. I think they're best friends. But the Titan OTP, I can't ship Reiner with Bertolt because Bertolt and Annie, oh my gosh. Bertolt and Annie has been the most obvious romance in this series so far. Like you can argue Ymir and Historia, and I don't think anybody would argue with you. You're like, Ymir has a thing for Historia, Historia has a thing for Ymir, and everybody would be like, yes, I agree 100%. You could argue that Marco had a thing for Jean, and I think people would agree with you. You can argue that Jean had a thing for Marco, and I think people would agree with you. I don't think there's anybody that could say Bertolt did not have a thing for Annie. It's so obvious. You stare too much, enough that everybody can tell. Now the question is, does Annie have a thing for Bertolt? That's the question. Or is it an unrequited love? I can't make Bertolt and Annie an OTP because I don't know if the love is mutual or not. Like with Ymir and Historia, the love is mutual. OTP, stamp it. Jean and Marco, I believe the love is mutual. OTP, stamp it. With Bertolt and Annie, the question is it mutual? Or is it more kind of like a Mikasa-Eren sort of thing where Mikasa clearly loves Eren, but Eren may not get that Mikasa loves him romantically? Bertolt clearly loves Annie, but does Annie get that Bertolt loves her romantically? That's the question. That's what we don't know. But I'll tell y'all one thing for sure. When I'm done catching up with this series, you best believe I'm going to AO3 and looking up some Bertolt and Annie fanfiction, and it better be there. I haven't looked up anything with this series at all. I've not looked up anything at all. Y'all have either sent me, like, the character songs I'm going to react to were sent to me from a Google Drive, so that was how I got those. Or on Twitter, I asked for my banner. I wanted to do some, like, fall art, and I was like, can anybody send me some Attack on Titan art that is not spoilery? And some people sent me, like, some season 1 clip art, and I was like, cool. But I looked nothing up from Attack on Titan, so I'm like, I want to look up Bertolt and Annie fanfiction so bad, but I'm like, I can't do it. Just gonna wait till next year. You know, like you do. But yeah, speaking of Titan love, Hanji and Titans, I that's a joke, but Hanji's reaction when Eren as the Titan in episode 7 looks over to her, or looks over to Hanji and is like, and Hanji goes, like that, that's amazing. I love it. I love it so much. Mikasa, God, Mikasa loves Eren for sure. And Mikasa in episode 12 went in for that kiss. Mikasa was like, we're going to die here. I'm going to tell you that I love you and I'm going to kiss you before we die. And then Eren stands up and blocks her. Poor Eren. Eren does care for Mikasa a lot, but I don't think Eren is privy at all to the fact that Mikasa views him romantically. I think Eren has no clue. And Mikasa clearly views Eren romantically. She tried. I feel for her. I feel for her so bad. I'm worried that with Bertolt and Annie, it's going to be the same thing where Bertolt loves Annie so completely and Annie's just like, wait, what? Like, that's what I'm afraid of, that she's not going to meet that love at all. Or they're never going to get a chance to see each other again. Who knows, right? But Armin, I feel so bad. Armin needs some love. Some people said they ship Armin and Jean together. I guess I could kind of see that, but I kind of see Armin and Jean more like Reiner and Bertolt. I see them more as friends. I don't quite get the romantic elements of it. There's not really that. Although, Armin fighting off Titans while holding Jean in his arms, I can see that, I guess. You know what? If Jean couldn't get with Marco because Marco's dead, Jean deserves to be happy. Armin deserves to be happy. I could see that. You know what I could also see, if we're going back to the whole theory about Eren becoming an antagonist, and I know I keep bringing it up, but I could see, and I'm not for this, I'm kind of like, but I could see, it's kind of like the Harry Potter scenario. In Harry Potter, you have Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Hermione and Ron end up together, even though it clearly should have been Hermione and Harry, I'm just saying. But I could totally see if this show went on the route of, we'll put Mikasa and Armin together, even though it should be Mikasa and Eren. I don't know if I agree with that at all. I'm like, Mikasa and Armin, they're friends, they're best friends, but Mikasa's so gung-ho on Eren. There'd have to be a lot of character development to turn Mikasa away from Eren, and I just don't see it happening. Mikasa's gonna be like on the Eren train for life. She's a ride or die for Eren. So I don't see that. But if we had Armin and Jean, I could see it. I don't see it yet as a ship, but if you argued with me that it was, I'd be like, especially after the last episode, I could see it. That's fine. So then Erwin and Levi, their strained and intriguing relationship. Oh my God. Y'all still ship them, right? I'll be honest. I shipped them after No Regrets. I was like, oh, this is an enemies to lovers story. It kind of still is enemies to lovers, right? If you're shipping Erwin and Levi, because especially at the end of this season, Levi, what I've liked about Levi and Erwin's relationship is that they challenge each other. They don't just, it's not just like, I love you, I agree with everything you say. They challenge each other a lot on their opinions. And so at the end of this episode, at the end of this season especially, Levi seemed like he was challenging Erwin on what he thought. And I really thought that was cool. I liked that a lot, actually. And so I'm very curious to see what we do with that. Like, it seemed like it's setting up for Levi and Erwin to have this kind of like tumultuous relationship going into season 3, where Erwin is like, mission, we can do it now. They're all humans. Let's just kill them all and solve the mission and we're good. We know that they're not infallible. And I could see Levi being like, but they're humans underneath. Don't we need to do something with that? And I could see Levi and Hanji maybe having more in common going forward than Erwin and Levi. So it's very curious. I'm up in the air with how I feel about them after this season, especially after that last episode. I'm up in the air. So I'll keep my thoughts kind of neutral until we see what season 3 does with them. Connie and Sasha. I love Connie and Sasha as either friends or shipped together. I think it's cool that the whole I'm Home episode 2, was focused just on them. I think that's really neat. I like that idea that it's just an episode devoted to them both going back to their hometowns, only Sasha has a happy ending, Connie does not. But I like that they're a pair of bumbling goofs. They're both Potato Girl and then Connie, Shorty. They're just bumbling goofs, but they're so likable and such good characters that you can't help root for them. You can't help root for Sasha and Connie in this season. They're such good characters that I really like them both. So whether they stay friends or if they end up as a couple, I'd be okay either way, but I kind of want them to end up a couple because I think that they're good for each other. And then I've been told, finally, that Mike and Nanaba are like a fan crack pairing. They've had like 0 screen time together, but apparently some of the fandom like ship Mike and Nanaba together. It's like, well, rest in peace together, y'all, because, you both are dead, but I can't see it. So it's interesting, though. I find that crack pairing, I'm like, they're both blondes. Cool. They're both badass characters, I guess, in their own ways. So, sure, and they're both nice characters. So if people want to ship them together, absolutely. But I was really happy we had more romance in this season of Attack on Titan. And then the whole thing with Bertolt and Annie, my mind's been in the gutter ever since then. I'm like, do Titan shifters get it on? Are there Titan shifter babies? How does this work? So I'm very curious that this show is as mature as it is. And it's made some sex jokes throughout. Like, it's talked about Bertolt and Annie, and Reiner's like, go for it. And then back in episode 4, Ymir was like, well, your mom has to be, if your mom is a Titan, your dad has to be a Titan, otherwise they can't do it. It's like, this show is very mature. So it has like some sexual innuendos and jokes in it. So I'm curious to see where we go with that in the series. Very curious. I mean, our main trio, our cadets and stuff, they're all between the ages of 15 and 17, so they're not mature enough for such things, but the older characters definitely are. So, all right, so toast number 7. We got 2 more toasts. Toast number 7 is going to go to actually Marcel. He was a named character that died, so we got to toast him. Marcel was the comrade of Bertolt, Reiner, and Annie. Back in episode 10, we saw that Ymir ate him. He was a Titan shifter, which is insane because that implies that Marcel was going to be part of the Shiganshina plot. So I'm very curious to know what his Titan shifter form looked like, if we'll ever see that or not, or if his ability, whatever that may have been, transferred to Ymir or not. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, a toast to Marcel. He had a really cool character design. He sacrificed his own life to save Reiner. So he seemed like a pretty okay dude, other than wanting to destroy humanity. So R.I.P. Marcel. All right. It's time, y'all. It is time. Let me bring this sucker over here. Okay. So it's time to rank characters. Yeah. All right. Why not, right? It's time to rank characters. So, I debated on how to do this because I had season 1 ranked, right? I had season 1 ranked, and I found this tier that's only season 2's characters. The characters are only present during season 2. And so I debated on how to do this. I'm like, do I rank the characters just based on this season alone, or do I base it ranked on the entire series overall? And I think what I'm going to do is base it on this season alone, because my plan is I'll obviously do a recap review and RIP for season 3 and do the same there. And then I'll probably do a live stream for the end of season 4, but I may go back and just do a ranking of all the characters in a separate video, because what I'd like to do when season 4 ends is and I'm sure somebody's made this on the internet because it's the internet, a entire character ranking of all the characters in Attack on Titan, like everybody. When season 4 ends, I'd like to do a video of just that. I'm sure there's gonna be hundreds of characters, but I would like to do that. So I think what I'll do is this is just for this season alone. So if I rank a character a certain way and you're like, well, back in season 1 you said they were such and such, it's just for this season, and the next season will be its own thing. So please understand that this is subjective. I feel like if anybody's going to get mad about anything, it's where I rank characters. And so my criteria is, for this season alone, I'm taking season 1 barely into account. I'm only counting season 2, really. Just season 2, because some of these characters are season 2 exclusive, right? So I'm just counting that. I want to just talk about how the characters have developed over the course of the season, their presence, their character development, their relevance to the plot. Are they good characters in my eyes? It's all very subjective, so bear with me, right? And I'm sure that my character rankings are going to change. They've changed dramatically from season 1 to season 2. I'll tell you that right off the bat. Dramatically. So that should say something. And I have a feeling in season 3, it's going to change a lot too. So, yeah. So with that being said, let's rank these characters. This character is not on the list here, but I'm going to go ahead and say that this character's not on the list. But Grisha has gone down to D rank for me, my friends. Grisha has gone down to D rank. You know why? Because I feel the more I learn about Eren and his Titan ability, the more frustrated I get with Grisha. Grisha is Eren's dad. He knows Eren has a temper problem and is incredibly emotional. He's known that because he's seen Eren's outbursts since episode 1. And he tells Eren when he leaves that he's going to give him secret knowledge to a basement full of stuff. And then he comes back to him because he had to give the key to him somehow. He comes back to him and doesn't tell him anything. He just injects him with something and then pieces out and gives him the key. I'm really frustrated with Grisha at this point in the series, because the more we learn about the Titans and the more I think Grisha knows certain things, the more I'm like, why aren't you saying anything? Why'd you keep this a secret? What's going on? And so don't spoil me. I'm sure that season 3 and season 4 will flesh out Grisha's character, or at least maybe we'll find out where the hell he's been or is. But at this point in the series, I'm really frustrated with his character. So he's at D rank. You know who else is at D rank? The Titan that killed Carla's mom. Hate him. Nope. Did not need to happen. Did not need to see that Titan. Nope. Not at all. I'm just like, what the heck, man? I really, honestly, other than the Titan that ate Carla's mom, I don't really have any other characters this season that I hated. I was like, that Titan that ate Carla's mom, it ate Hannes too. Dude, sad days. I don't really have any other characters that I hate. The characters I wouldn't miss, I like this called wouldn't miss them. Wouldn't miss them. Pastor Nick, I really thought we'd have more with Pastor Nick. I really thought we would get a lot more into Pastor Nick this season, and we haven't. Even at the season finale, Levi wasn't with him, so I don't know if we're going to get more into Pastor Nick. in season 3 or not. I feel like as we've gotten more Titan lore and as Historia has come more into play, we're going to go back to the family of the church. So I feel like Pastor Nick is coming back, but I was really surprised with how much we didn't get of him this season. He just was there to tease something and then he pieced out. It's like, man, that's not cool. Who else is C? I don't really know this guy. I feel bad. I don't know him. I was like, it's not Marcel, is it? I don't think it's Marcel, no. So I don't really know his character at all. I feel bad. I feel like he's one of the Survey Corps that was placed in charge of a group by Erwin. But because I don't know him, I'm like, I'm sorry. Sorry about you. Anybody else that's C rank? I feel, you know what, Keith? Oh, Shaddis here. We didn't really get hardly any of him. Or Warman. Is that Warman? It might be Warman. I kept calling him Warhammer and somebody's like, is that his name? And I was like, nah. Warman. He was D-ranked for me last season, but he does put up a fight in this episode against the Titans, like Connie's village when they were attacking them. So I'll give him C rank. I wouldn't miss him, but he's not making me loathsome of him. So that's good. The good news is everybody else is C ranking up, is B ranking up. So this season, these characters moving on up, right? B rank characters. Lynn. I liked Lynn. Maybe this was Henning. Was this Henning maybe? It might have been Henning. Oh man. Again, the fact that I didn't know it was Henning or not, C rank. But Lynn is meh. But you know what? Lynn at least tried to cheer Connie up, tried to make Connie feel better, and defended at Castle Utgard. So I'll give Lynn a B rank. That's pretty good. You know who else I'll give a B rank to? Connie's mom. Connie's mom. I felt bad for Connie's mom because Connie's mom tried. Mama tried, tried to, get up and do something, but clearly was innocent in all this because they were turned into a Titan against their will, and then tried to welcome their son back home. I feel bad for him for that. I'm sad because Connie's dad isn't on this character tier. I would have put him in B rank too, even though he tried to attack Sasha. Would have put him in B rank, but what can you do? Here's the thing. I'm gonna put the Beast Titan in B rank, and B for Beast. And the Beast Titan is really freaking cool. Has a really cool design, is super intimidating, terrifying in episode 1. And then it's the Beast Titan bookends this season. The Beast Titan bookends episode 1, he appears, is threatening, seems like a really, really terrifying presence. Episode 12 reappears, is a terrifying presence, reveals that there's a guy inside, and the guy seems ominous. But here's the thing, between episodes 1 and 12, he pops up one time. It's just to climb over Wall Rose and peace out. That's it. That's all we get. I really expected to see more of the Beast Titan in this season than we got. And so I've got to put him in B rank for now because I'm like, I am guessing we're going to see more of him as the show goes on. Clearly, because he's been set up in this season at the end in the season finale. But I just don't know enough about him, and he's not been participating enough in the season for me to move him any higher. So that's where I'm standing with him. I'm trying to think of any other B characters. Mike, I hate to put Mike in B, but Mike was really cool, but Mike was only in that first episode, and I really hated that Mike had the whole issue of, it was kind of thematic, because Mike's whole thing was, he got that, note from Rico and Nanaba to just, I can't remember if it was Rico or Nanaba that told him. I think it was Nanaba, because that's why y'all shipped them together, that, we can do anything if we have resolve. And Mike is a prime example of resolve's not enough. You can think you want to win the mission, but that's not enough, especially against an enemy that's stronger than you. And so Mike is kind of case in point of that. So I like Mike's character a lot, but I just felt like his character was underused in this series. I really wanted to see more of him. And the fact that he died right off the bat is really, really sad. Let's talk about Connie. Connie's an A rank. I love Connie. Connie rose up from B rank to A rank in this season. I felt so bad for Connie in the last episode. Him having to come up and talk about his family turning into Titans. Like, you can tell Connie's so confused. Like, the people he confided in, Reiner and Bertold, have turned out to be enemies. And his family have been turned into Titans. Most of them are dead. I feel so bad for Connie. He's definitely become A rank for me, and so has Sasha. Girl is A rank. Her and Connie, put them next to each other. Sasha, as soon as episode 2 happened, I was like, oh, Sasha's A rank. She's A rank for sure. I don't feel like we get Sasha kind of peters off after episode 2, and we don't get, there's so much focus with Ymir and Historia and everybody else and Connie that Sasha kind of peters off, and we don't get to see much with her. And it kind of makes sense because Isayama was originally going to kill her in episode 2. So Isayama, planning ahead, I'm sure as a storyteller, he didn't have anything for Sasha to do because she was dead in his mind. And then the editor made him change his mind. So he was like, well, crap, now she's back in the story. So he didn't really have a lot for Sasha to do in this season. But the moments in episode 2 elevated her to A rank because she was just so badass. And I loved her. I really liked Sasha in this season, as I did Connie. Other A-ranked characters, I really like Nanaba. I did like Nanaba a lot. She was really cool. She had that badass scene where she's like, let me show you how the pros do it, like how the veteran Survey Corps members do it. And at that point, you knew she was gonna die, but she went out in style. She had a memorable death, and she also had a memorable fight against the Titans at Utgard Castle. Of all of our, and I'm gonna put Gerger up there too, of all of our side Survey Corps military police characters we've had so far in the series that you knew were gonna die, but you just didn't know when, I would say Nanaba and Gelger were the two best ones we've had so far. They had a lot of good character moments. They were funny. Gelger making the whole joke about the booze. It's like, oh man, it just, you wanted him to get a drink, and that was it. So speaking of booze, when I was thinking about doing this video, I really was torn of where to put Pixis. I was really torn because part of me wants to keep him in A rank. And part of me was like, is he just going to be a caricature of himself? And I was going to drop him down to B rank. But I'm going to keep him in A. A lot of you gave me grief. You were like, don't count Pixis out yet. And I was like, don't spoil me. But in all honesty, I think the season finale, the fact that Pixis was there and was involved and seemed more like serious and in control of the situation, I was like, okay, Pixis, I'll give you another chance. I'll give you another chance to stay in A rank. For your character, but also he works a vest and a bolo, so what can you do? And so then it gets harder. I feel bad. I'm like, do I want to put all these characters in S tier? Part of me does. Part of me does, and we'll talk about this. Okay, Sasha's dad, he's A rank. Love him. Love her dad. Mr. Browse, he is just absolutely wonderful. Just like a model father figure. I like the twist in episode 2 that Sasha is the one stuck in her ways and the dad is the open-minded progressive one. I'm like, usually it's the opposite. Usually the parents are stuck in their ways and the kids are progressive, and it's opposite here. But I love the dad coming through, rescuing them, all that jazz. I absolutely love it. It's really, really good stuff. All right. And you know what? Oh, God, it gets hard from here. It's like, I feel like S tier, it says can't be without him on the chart. I feel like S tier is your tops. So how many characters do I have left from season 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's almost like you have your top 10 be S rank, but then what do we do? It's so hard. I just want to make them all S tier. Maybe I can justify it. We'll see. Let's do our first S tier, shall we? Ymir! Ymir is S tier! Biggest leap of the whole damn chart. Biggest leap of the whole damn chart is Ymir. From C rank to S tier. Holy shit. And she does it within 2 episodes. Because I'll be honest, Ymir, episodes 1 and 2, I was like, oh, we're getting focused on this character. Oh, her name's Ymir. Tied to Ilse's notebook. I was like, awesome, cool. We're putting her up from C rank to B rank. Episodes 3 and 4. Okay, she's got some stuff behind her. Stuff's getting crazy. All right, sure. Still keeping her in B rank, but we're learning more about Ymir. She has a tie to Reiner, Bertolt, and Historia. Awesome. Episode 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. I was like, she's A rank. After episode 5 and when it was Historia, I was like, oh, she's A rank. She's a Titan. She's defending Historia. She can talk. She helps. They all grab onto her hair and get out of the way. She's A rank. Yeah, sure. Episode 9. I was like, oh, Ymir's so A rank. She's episode 9 cemented Ymir as A rank. I was like, okay, I love Ymira's character in this. She's funny, she's sarcastic, she has dark humor, she's smart. And then episodes 10 and 11 happened. And I was like, oh, no, you're S tier. Because she just rises above. And it's amazing. Like her relationship with Historia, it's just absolutely wonderful. And her backstory, the idea of her agency, of everything she's been through, her sacrifice, she lets Historia go so she can go back with Reiner and Bertolt because she thinks Historia has a future. It's like, yes, it's just so damn good. I'm torn with Historia on whether she was S rank or A ranked. But I gotta keep them together. So I gotta put Historia up there in S rank. Again, rising from B to S. And the only reason I put Historia up in S rank is one, in episode 5 when she was like, tear down the tower. When she was like, let's live for ourselves, Ymir. We don't have to listen to anybody else. We're gonna do whatever we want to. I was like, okay, cool. I really like this a lot. I'm like, I'm all for this. So I was all for Historia's character then. But then Historia fighting, not only getting her first kill to save Ymir, but fighting to keep Ymir safe and fighting to prove to others that Ymir is worth being saved. Because that goes back to Bertolt and Ymir's whole thing. They're like, we just want somebody to find us, somebody to save us. And I talked about in episode 11, but thinking back on it with Bertolt, when Bertolt says we just want somebody to find us and we cut to Ymir, that whole thing about finding is the idea of saving us. We want somebody to save us because we're not worthy of it, but maybe somebody will find it in their heart to give us a chance. Historia finds it in her heart to give Ymir a chance. And that's what Bertolt keeps looking at them both. Like during episode 11, like, oh, there is a possibility that we can find some redemption or something. And so, again, Ymir hasn't killed a 250,000 people. So like I said in episode 11, it's a little bit easier for Historia to justify her forgiveness of Ymir because Ymir's only been complicit in what's going on. She's not been actively involved in trying to destroy Shiganshina's walls or Wall Rose. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Speaking of which, I can't believe I had him in C rank and he rose up this far. After episode 11, freaking Bertolt. How is he S rank? If you told me at the beginning of the season I would have Bertolt S rank, I'd be like, you're insane. But Bertolt started out this season like a freaking vaudevillain, like just being so suspicious and obvious, and you're like, something's up. But the more you watch this season, you realize that Bertolt is trying to keep Reiner in check and trying to keep the mission going. Bertolt is pulling overtime. He is trying to keep the mission going, trying to keep Reiner in check, trying to get back to Annie, trying to control the fact that he wants to get back to Annie but has to do the mission, trying to deal with everything. And finally in episode 11, he just snaps and he can't take any more. And then him getting mad at Armin and saying, I'll pulverize you. And it's setting up Armin and Bertolt to have a rematch at some point, which is insanity. Because Armin's not even killed a Titan at this point, and yet you think he's going to face Bertolt, who's like one of the strongest Titans. How's that going to go down? I don't know. But it just seems like it's setting up for that. But Bertolt, man, revealing just how emotional he is and how he's trying to hold it all in and keep it together and just how hard that is for him. And it's hard, man. I really came to like Bertolt's character a lot towards the second half of this season from Warrior on. I was all on board with Bertolt. I'm like, okay. And the way he says, Reiner. He says, Reiner! In every episode. It's so iconic. He's like, Reiner! I love it. It's so good. Speaking of which, Armin's S tier. Still S tier, in fact. Armin. Armin becoming a leader in this episode. He exceeded my expectations in episode 11. He just became a freaking boss. And I loved him for it. Armin just becoming a demon, deceiving, doing what he had to do to save Eren. I'm like, Armin, you're the brains, man. And the dangerous thing is when somebody that has the brains of Armin realizes he can be deceptive. That's the scary thing. And the look that he gets was chilling. Like the look that he had, it's like a crossover between Mikasa's death rage look and Eren's Titan slaughter look, is like Julie on Patreon said. It's great. It's wonderful. But Armin Armin doing big brain moves, piecing things together, doing the piecing together in Warrior, putting it all together plan-wise to lead up to this point. Literally on his hands and knees, holding Jaunt in his arms, fighting off a Titan with a sword, willing to sacrifice himself to keep his friends safe. Armin is still S tier. Absolutely. Jaunt is also S tier. I don't care what y'all say. He's my king. I gotta support him. And I will justify in this season. Jaunt, even though we didn't see him for a lot of this season, he pulled in duties towards the end, especially saving Mikasa. Jumping into the fray, saving Mikasa. At the very end there, challenging Eren, saying, you know, these people have died. If you're wanting their sacrifices not to be in vain, you gotta pull your part. Like, Jaunt and Armin are two of my favorite characters to be in a duo in this series. And I really hope in season 3 we see more of them as a duo, because I think they have really good, engaging conversations. And like they said, Armin and Jaunt figured out the connection with the coordinate and told Eren, so galaxy brains, gotta keep them together. Also Mikasa. Speaking of which, she rose to S tier. Yeah, Mikasa was a freaking boss this whole season. From slitting Bertolt's throat and taking a sword through Reiner's arm, from doing that to coming in to save you. It's funny, she came in to save Historia and Ymir in episode 5 at the end of it, and then she was fighting Ymir and Historia in episode 11. So that's hilarious that we have that parallel. But Mikasa sacrificing everything to save Eren, doing what she could to help save Ymir and Historia, fighting Reiner and Bertolt head on, her resolve, her moments where she was soft with the little scarf, looking like so innocent and cute, and then it cutting to like her like trying to tell Eren her feelings before she thought they were gonna die in the season finale. Like Mikasa definitely has elevated her, I would argue, into the top tier for me. She's one of my top favorite characters right now. I really liked Mikasa this season. She was awesome. Really, really awesome. So, that gets down to some other characters that I'm like, it's so crazy. Hanji, my girl. I had Hanji as S tier in season 1 because I really instantly fell for Hanji's character and liked Hanji as the mad scientist in this season. And Hanji for this season does a lot and still does quite a bit and pieces things together. And I feel like Hanji does a lot more leadership roles in this season. Hanji has a lot more leadership roles in the season. I'm going to put Hanji in A rank. I feel like I still love Hanji. I love Hanji as a character. I feel like Hanji being taken out by the Steam Titans was a bit of a detriment, because then Hanji didn't really have a role in the final battle so much like Jean did. And in the aftermath, we just see Hanji with Connie in the aftermath, but Hanji wasn't on the main battlefield with Erwin and all of them in charge and in Children. But Hanji's blush face at Eren when he nods at her is still amazing. But I still love Hanji's character, but for this season, I'm going to put Hanji just as an A rank character, just because I feel like they didn't get to interact much in the final battle, and they were just kind of in the aftermath. I'm hoping that Hanji gets more of a role in the next season, though, because I think that they will, especially if we get more into like Connie's mom and more into the Titans themselves and more into Historia and Ymir. And I could see Hanji asking Historia about Ymir. I think as we get, and asking Eren about Ymir, since Eren was around Ymir, I think that we'll get more into Hanji's character. So there's a very good chance that Hanji will go back up to S rank in season 3. But I just didn't feel comfortable putting Hanji in S rank here. And I'll be honest, and y'all will hate me, but again, I'm just basing it off the season. I'm going to put Levi in A rank. Don't hate me, but I'm justified. Here's why. Because Levi didn't do hardly anything this season. Levi was hardly there. Levi was in the first couple episodes with Pastor Nick, and then was not present at all for any of the battles that took place, and then came back in the season finale. I almost put Levi back into S tier for that one little glance between him and Erwin, and Levi feeling clearly disturbed about the implications of these Titans being human. I almost put him back in it for that. But I was like, I didn't feel comfortable. I was like, I feel like I'm basing it off the season itself. Now, next season, we get back into Levi's character more. oh, he'll probably jump up to S tier automatically, right? Well, he'll probably jump right back up. But for this season only, I'm going to put Levi in A rank and Hanji in A rank because we didn't quite get as much of them especially Levi, as I wanted to. So with that being said, I told you I was doing my top 10 characters. It just so happens to work out because the rest are S tiered. And I'll explain why. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got our top 10 characters. I would put Historia, the ones I was waffling on towards the end. Historia down towards the end. Hannes is down towards the end. He's S ranked, but he's down there in like probably 10th spot. Hannes had to go out on top. You know, I had to put Hannes in S tier because this whole season, and we're going to toast him last, but this whole season was really hinging on Hannes because he was the connection between the past in season 1 and the future coming up with season 3. Hannes was that relic of season 1 that just couldn't move past season 2. Things are getting too complicated and too crazy. Hannes couldn't move past that. He was meant to be stuck in that past realm of season 1 and season 2, I feel. But his speech to Armin and Mikasa in episode 8, his resolve back in episode 10, where he's like, we keep going, we chase after them, we get Eren. His resolve in episode 11 to try, he like crashed off his horse and was dragged across the ground. He still went after Eren and Mikasa. And at the very end, knowing Hannes went from episode 1 of season 1 being a coward and a drunk and running away with Eren and Mikasa to escape that Titan and letting Carla die, to facing that Titan head on to save Eren and Mikasa and dying in the process and not giving up. He never ran away. He kept trying to kill the Titan over and over again, even though it wasn't working. He kept slashing where he could and doing what he could no matter what. And he ended up getting eaten, and he still did it up until the very end to save them. So I was like, that resolve that he had and that bravery he had, I had to put Hannes in S tier. I'm like, it's done. So then that leaves Eren, Reiner, and Erwin. They're all S tier. I would say up until this point, if I'm making my top ones, Ymir's way up there, Mikasa's up there, Armin's up there, Bertolt and Jean, they're up there. I have to support my king. But then, okay. Erwin. Erwin rose to S tier this season for me. Erwin is right up there with Mikasa and Armin. I mean, Erwin's badassery in episode 11 was insane. The man not only doing the strategy, leading around. It's funny. Erwin is a mixture of Eren and Armin. And his name is kind of a mixture of Eren and Armin. So that's kind of weird, right? But Erwin is like a mixture of Eren and Armin. Erwin has the resolve of Eren. Eren has Erwin's resolve. That whole like, I'm dedicating myself to this task and I'm going to get it done no matter what. And the military police were like, oh, Erwin, you're sacrificing us. And Erwin's like, no, I'm just trying to get the job done. You're soldiers. You signed up for this. You knew you were sacrificing yourself for the cause anyway. So welcome to the job. It's like when people apply for a job and then they complain about what they have to do. It's like, you read the job description, right? So Erwin's resolve is like top tier, like Eren's. But then he has the strategy and the intellect that Armin has. So Armin has the strategy powers and the intellect and being able to put 2 and 2 together. Erwin has that as well. And he realized that in episode 11 was really Erwin's episode in a lot of ways. Because him telling them all to advance, to go rescue Eren, him like leading forward the charge with the sword, him getting his arm bit off and still telling them to move forward, getting his arm bit off, tying a tourniquet around it, getting on a horse, riding it to the colossal and armored titans, jumping up in the air to take the colossal titan head on and slash him to save Eren. At that point, I was like, oh no, he's S tier. And then in this last episode with him and Levi, I've talked about like Eren, I talked about it in the season finale, but Erwin having that resolve of no, we can beat them now. Like that, Erwin was definitely S tier in this season for me. I'm glad he still lived. I really thought he was going to die. I'm nervous as hell for him and Levi because I'm like, Levi's injured, Erwin's injured. What we going to do? But And so that leaves Reiner and Bertolt. And I decided ever since episode 9, I was like, whatever category I put Reiner in, Aaron has to be in the same category. Because like I've talked about, Aaron and Reiner are two sides of a similar coin. They are. They're two sides of a similar coin. They're both really compassionate characters. They're both hyper compassionate. They both clearly care about those around them. Aaron having that resolve to save people, and Reiner having that resolve, like with Connie and the others. They're both extremely compassionate, honest people. Like they're honest characters. They wear their hearts on their sleeves. And the problem with Reiner is because he's so compassionate, because he wears his heart on his sleeve, him doing all these horrible things, he had to find a way to justify it and a way to distract him from it. So that's where the personas of the soldier and the warrior came on, right? And so they're two sides of the same coin. They're both hyper compassionate characters, but they're also insanely stubborn, stuck in their ways, and they won't deal with you telling them otherwise. So when Aaron and Reiner yell at each other in episode 9, Reiner's like, well, you can scream at me all you want. I'm not changing my mind. And Aaron's like, well, fine. I'm not changing my mind either. You're still going to die. So it's like these two butting heads. I feel like this show has set them up now in this season that they're going to be our main rival duo people. It's going to be Reiner and Aaron butting heads the rest of the series. I could be wrong, but it seems like it's setting up for that. And so Reiner's character rising from B rank to S rank, y'all. I'm going to put him under Jean, though. Under Bertolt, even. I like him, though. But Reiner just... You can argue that Reiner's better than Bertolt, but I don't know. But Reiner, just the complexity of his character, the whole thing with the warrior, that whole thing where he's like, as a warrior, when he says, and I can't speak it in Japanese, but he says, as a warrior, I'll fulfill my duty. And it shows like the cut healing, gives me chills every time. Like his voice actor, he also has Sosuke's voice actor from Free, so I'm a little biased, but because that's one of my favorite Free characters. But Reiner just going like the hand grip on Connie's shoulder, the warrior episode, his whole thing in episode 9, him like throwing the Titans in episode 12, like it's all just, and then him saying Aaron is the worst person to be the coordinate. But Aaron is S tier, my friends. He is. I finally got him up there. I've gave Aaron a really hard time this season. A really hard time. And I'll be honest, up until episode 12, Aaron was still A rank for me. But episode 12, the season finale Scream, that was all Aaron's episode. There are so many great shots of Aaron in that episode. Aaron's resolve, him screaming and crying and laughing about how he hasn't changed, and then gathering up his resolve after Mikasa talks to him. And the thing of it is, he didn't push Mikasa away at the end there. In episode 12, when she tells him how much she cares about him, and he just stares at her, and he slowly realizes, he's like, oh my God, you do. Oh. And in that moment, it's almost like Aaron realizes that Mikasa wasn't always protecting him because she thought he was weak. That wasn't it. Because up until that moment in episode 12, I had the thought that Aaron thought that Mikasa was only protecting him and thought she had to protect him because she thought he was weak. But that wasn't it. When she tells him about the scarf and everything, she's like, you helped me and I wanted to help you back. And Aaron realizes it's just a mutual love. It's a mutual friendship. It's a mutual sense of compassion that he has for her, that she has for him. It's not that she thinks he's weak. It's that she trusts him. That's the thing. She trusts him and she wants to help him. And in that moment, she trusts in him and she wants to help him all she can. That moment, because Aaron is all about, if you trust Aaron, he's all about you. And so in that moment when he's like, well, then I'll wrap that scarf around as many times as I have to. Like in that moment, he's like, oh, and he's doing exactly what Carla told him to. He's like, protect Mikasa. And that's be a man, protect Mikasa. And he does it. And then the whole thing was Scream and the whole thing of carrying her on his back to get her out of there. And then at the end with his resolve where he's like, no, we can do this. And he gets everything with Armin and Mikasa and Jean at the end. Episode 12 was Aaron's episode. And it's Aaron like I wanted to see him this entire season. We got a preview of it in Warrior when Aaron's being drugged down by Reiner and he's crying and he's like, no, you damn traitors. That version of Aaron is what I'd wanted to see all of season 1. We finally got it in that episode 6, and then he got captured. And when he got captured, he kind of regressed a little bit. But then in episodes 11 and 12, he came back. And it was great. So yeah. So that's where I am with these characters. Now, obviously, I do predict, my only prediction is that Levi and Hanji are going to rise up back to S rank. We just didn't see a lot of Levi this season. That's the only reason he's there. We didn't see a lot of him this season. And Hanji, I feel like, was kind of relegated to the side for a little bit. We didn't get to see her fully in action like she was in season 1. So that's the only reason that they're there right now. I could also see if Connie and Sasha get more screen time, maybe they could pop up to S rank. I don't know. These guys I don't foresee, although the Beast Titan might surprise me. But the others, obviously, they're either dead or I don't see them moving up anymore. Pastor Nick, depending on how he is, he may go down to D rank. Who knows? But that's my character chart. I'm going to take a picture of it because I want to compare it to... I'll put up here on the screen a comparison of season 1 to season 2. I'll put up here a comparison. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? We had a lot less characters in season 2, but it makes sense because it was such a condensed story. It makes sense we didn't have nearly as many characters. That makes sense. So, but yeah, that is the season chart there of the character tiers for that one. All right. So as far as characters that exceeded expectations, definitely Reiner and Ymir, Bertolt, Aaron, Historia, Armin, they all exceeded what I thought they were going to do this season, which was awesome. Which characters changed the most? Our Titans, Reiner, Bertolt, and Ymir, for sure. I would say that all of our characters have changed a little bit, but Reiner, Bertolt, and Ymir had the biggest growth as characters, I think, because we learned about them. In season 1, they were characters that we either didn't even know the name of or we barely saw them. And in this season, they were expanded like insanely. So who do I want to see more of? Character-wise, I definitely want to see more Annie. Now that we know Bertolt loves her, I want to see more of Annie. I want to see more of Erwin. I keep wanting to get more. We get more and more Erwin as we go. And I'm more and more fascinated by his character. And so, especially at the end of this season, I want into season 3 getting more into Erwin's character. I really do. I want to see more of Annie, more of Bertolt with Annie, even if it's flashbacks. I want to see that. I want to see more of Levi and Jean again. Levi and Jean were out of the season a lot. But I want to see more of them in season 3. And more of Aaron with everybody else. Aaron, because his character is such a loner character, he's often by himself. And I hate that because I want to see Aaron with other characters interacting. We see it at the end where he's with Mikasa, Armin, and Jean. I want to see more of that because season 1, Aaron was always either alone or getting shuffled around group to group without any chance to really interact with them. And so I want Aaron to spend some time with one particular group. Kind of like what we've seen with, we saw in this season with Connie, Sasha, Ymir, and Historia, and Bertolt and Reiner. Those 6 characters hung out throughout most of the season together. So I want to see Aaron with characters in that type of setting where he's with Mikasa and Armin and Jean for a majority of the season. I want to see that. I don't know if we'll get it or not, but that's my hope. Who is safe and who is being replaced? I hate that word replaced. I have a little note here. The rule of Mars. First we had Marco die. Then we had Marcel die. And we still have Marlo. Is Marlo next? Is he going to die in season 3? The rule of Mars. We've had these Mar characters. And they've all been important, impactful characters to the characters that they were close to. So Marco was really impactful with Jean and Armin and Aaron and Mikasa. Marco was a really important character in their lives, and so his death greatly affected them. Marcel was a really important character in the lives of Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt. Him dying and Ymir gaining that power, was really impactful. So Marlo is our other Mar character. Is he going to be impactful? We know that he has a relationship with Hitch and knows Annie somewhat. Is he going to be an impactful character? Will he die? I don't know. Obviously, Erwin has death flags. He's the commander. He's the pinnacle of humanity's fighting forces. Him and Aaron. Erwin has death flags. He's missing an arm. That's not usually a good sign. When people start to miss limbs, it doesn't look good. I'm like, I get nervous when people start to lose limbs. I'm like, you have death flags now. I don't like it. So I'm curious to know what's going to happen and who would even replace Erwin if he died. That's the thing, because there are some in the ranks. I can't picture Levi leading the Survey Corps because Levi kind of strikes me like Mikasa. Levi doesn't strike me as like a leader over everybody, just like a small time leader or a leader of a small group, but not like the whole Survey Corps. So I don't know. He feels like Levi is somewhat similar to Aaron in the fact that he can be really emotional. He's just a lot better at Aaron than hiding those emotions. So I can't see him making... Erwin's thing is Erwin is able to make concrete decisions without remorse and without emotional attachment. Erwin is really detached emotionally. So he can make those split decisions that the Survey Corps other members might not because it would compromise people's lives or put them in jeopardy. Erwin can sacrifice that because it's for the greater good. I don't know if Levi could do that. So I don't know, but Erwin has death flags. And I don't know about Ymir. I thought up until episode 12 that Ymir would be safe and she'd go back with the Survey Corps, but her going back with Bertolt and Reiner, I'm like, I don't know what they're going to do with her. Is the Beast Titan going to kill her? Is she going to die? Are the other Titan shifters, if they run into them, going to kill her? Is she going to escape and get back to the... Are they going to send her back to the Survey Corps to kidnap Historia because they know that they have a connection? Ymir's a big question mark. I don't know what her character... I don't want her character to die. I don't. But if Ymir dies in this series, it will be saving Historia. That I'm pretty much guaranteed. It's going to be like a Romeo and Juliet. She's going to go out saving Historia sort of thing. Like, I can't see Ymir dying any other way. But I don't know. And then, again, the only people I think are safe at this point, it's the same as season 1. I think Eren is safe. I think Mikasa is safe, even though she's kind of injured like Levi. I think Armin is safe. And I think Levi is safe. Those are the only 4 I think are safe characters. The fact that Armin is still narrating the story makes me definitely think he's safe. But I digress. Everybody else, it's a free-for-all. I would add Reiner to that list. I think Reiner is safe at this point because I think they're setting up Reiner versus Eren. And I think that's going to be like one of the in-game battles is Reiner versus Eren. And so I think Reiner is somewhat safe. Bertolt, I don't think he's safe because, again, he's that piece we got to take off the board. If either side's going to advance or be at a disadvantage, Bertolt's got to be taken off the board. So I worry about Bertolt. I worry about Jean. I do. Because John's a good character. He's my king. But I'm like, dude, I don't know. I feel like I get dread for Jean's character because I don't know if Isayama considers him that important to the story to keep him around. Or if he's going to be like a Hannes where he's going to be that major death. I don't know. I need to see more. Since we didn't see a lot of Jean in this season, I don't know how to feel about him going into season 3. I feel like season 2... elevated Armin, Mikasa, and Eren, our main trio. It elevated them, and I think they're safe, but I feel like Jean hasn't been elevated to that same status, so I don't know. But before we get into the character songs, let's do a toast. Our last toast of the video is to frickin' Hannes from episode 12. Hannes, my dude. You went from a drunk that just thought that life was going to be easy and you just have to sit there and just play cards along the wall. And he went from that to being a coward that realized he wasn't strong enough to save Carla, to being a father figure to Eren and Armin and Mikasa, to being a mentor to them, to giving a pep talk to them, to striving to get Eren back with the group. And he didn't die in vain. He got Eren back to that group. He died so that Eren could get back and that maybe the world would be a little bit more like it was before. I don't think that's going to happen, but it was a good dream. So... a toast to Hannes, our dude. R.I.P. Hannes. I will definitely miss his character a great deal. I had more left in that than I thought. So, we're on the character songs. I'm pretty excited, y'all. I am pretty excited because I didn't know... I've not really listened to any character songs up until this point for most anime because a lot of them are spoilery, so I don't listen to them. But, let me pull this up here. Okay, so I've got my headphones on. We're going to pull up these songs here. There's 6 songs, and so they're each for our main characters. There's Eren, Mikasa, Armin, Jean, which I'm glad our king gets a song, Bertolt and Reiner together, Levi and Erwin. So very interesting. And apparently these characters sing their own songs, so that's going to be interesting. But I wanted to pull these up one at a time. Eren's is called Helpless World, which I think is interesting. So let's start that here in 3, 2, 1. Cool. Okay, so that was Aaron's. Nice. So then the second one is Mikasa's. No matter where you are. And we're going to start that now. Praying towards your back. Wow. So because you always have your back to her. And not looking back at her. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, this is clearly about Aaron. She has a really beautiful singing voice. Aww. The reason I live and breathe, you know. Yeah, like clearly Aaron is like the ray of light for her. She really does have a great singing voice. Which she's the same voice actress for Violet Evergarden, and I can hear Violet in her singing voice, which is funny. Yeah, my heart throbbed. Did it? Did it? Yeah, her character motivation is pretty much it's Aaron centered. Like her freaking out in episode 8 without him. It's kind of like that line. And it goes back to the Edie 1 in season 1. Oh, Mikasa, girl. Hers definitely has that romance ballad feel to it. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. So then Armin's is called Far Away. Oh, and I forget that Armin has a female voice actress, so of course the VA for it would have a more feminine sounding singing voice. And there's that book, the book that I was talking about that his grandpa gave him. sprout wings and fly off somewhere, kind of like. And then you have the Survey Corps, the wings of freedom. I feel like this should be the opening of like a sitcom. It's like this melody. There's a world that was meant for our eyes to see. Yeah. And connecting Armin and Aaron's passion and their dream to go outside the walls. Yeah, aware of reality. That's a good way to put it. Hmm. That imagery. Hmm. I like that both these songs, the artwork is centered on both Mikasa and Armin being close to Aaron. Hmm. Hmm. Because of you, I'll never run away. Oh, I like that line. I like that line. So I can be your equal. Oh, cool. I like that line for Armin. Oh. Mm. Both him and Mikasa have like just like a softer song. But it kind of fits their personality, so the freedom to live. Hmm. Ah, cool. Aw. The way the sky went on forever. Hmm. Yeah, it's funny because it's like Armin and Mikasa's songs are both very hopeful and optimistic. Till we reach that far off place. Hmm. Even when there's no help in sight. Interesting. And that both Mikasa and Armin talk about Aaron being a light to them. That's interesting. If I'm with you. Mm-hmm. And then Mikasa said the same thing. Ah. Hmm. Hmm. It's funny that artwork because they're all like the same height. Armin with his books. Mm. And that when he came back in episode 8. Oh man. Okay. All right. So those are all really nice. I'm really curious about Jean's song, Rusty Honesty. Really curious about those. Okay, now Jean's voice actor is also Chuya from Bungo Stray Dogs, so he can sing. Man can sing. And I can hear Chuya's voice. Yeah. Yeah, he has such a very distinct singing voice. Oh, of course our king would get a ballad. You can still hear Chuya from Bungo Stray Dogs. It's great. Like I can predict the future. Hmm. I'll choose a better one in the end, dead or alive. Ooh, if the world were just black or white, then we're only surviving being stained in black. Oh, cool. I like that. But now it's not black and white. No. Heartless, rusted pride. Ooh. And that ties back to episode 16 with the bones, the damn bones. And not running away. Oh, I love it. Oh, I like it a lot. Actually, you'd have to throw that in there. Oh, is that Mark? How dare you? How dare you? Why? Can't go one episode without seeing Marco. I wanted to pretend I couldn't see my own weakness. But no. Even if we struggle without meaning. Yeah, okay. Is my existence meaningless? No. Man, that's tying back to episode 16. By this rusted pride. I love it. I love it. It's like John coming to grips and realizing that he's not going to run away. Oh, it's good. I like this one a lot. I like his and Aaron's probably the best. But I'm more like into rock songs like this than I am like romantic ballads or something. How dare you? I'm all for Jean with an undercut like that. Well, he does have an undercut, but I'm all for them highlighting it like that. Our king, our king with the hat too. Would we expect less of royalty? Oh, I wanted to be jealous of that person's strength. Won't I win against him someday? Oh, having to directly confront your existence. Ooh, nice. So it almost sets up Jean versus Aaron, but I really think it's more Reiner versus Aaron than anything now. But that's interesting, though. I like that so far every other character has acknowledged Aaron in their song. I'm sensing a pattern. All right. Nice. Nice. I liked that one a lot. I liked it. Now, I'm really curious about Bertolt and Reiner's song, if it's a duet. I wasn't sure the title of it. It says Alternative Drive. They both look so grim in that picture. Ooh. It is a duet. They both have good singing voices, so that's good. That has to be Bertolt. Oh, so that was Bertolt singing. So this is Bertolt singing. Bertolt has a good singing voice. Those who protect our soldiers, those who destroy our warriors. Oh, wow. Okay. So what's the difference? They both risk their lives. Damn. Okay. The unshakable coordinate. And they're looking for Aaron too. Aaron's making his way into this song too. Interesting. I love that. Those who protect our soldiers, those who destroy our warriors. Interesting. Would make sense because when Reiner was protecting Connie, he was a soldier. As if we were trying to erase our sins. Bertolt has a great singing voice. Is Reiner not going to sing? Warriors are lonely and soldiers believe in each other. Ooh, this is really good. Oh, wow. Nice. I love that. The warriors are lonely, but soldiers believe in each other. Now, I know that Sosuke's voice actor can sing. I know he can sing. I've seen videos of him singing before as Sosuke from Free. So it's curious they don't have him singing in this. Yet. The choir is interesting. Very orchestral, kind of like when they transform into Titans. Interesting. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, I like that when they sang together. That was good. But they all risk their lives for the future they believe in. So what's the difference? And that goes back to the whole theme of who's the enemy. Yeah. Everybody is looking for the unshakable coordinate. So not just them. Interesting. This one's not my favorite song, but the lyrics I think are the most relevant to the show. Interesting. I do like the orchestra, like the choir. Cool. Okay. Nice. So that leaves us with Levi and Erwin. And then Levi's is called Dark Side of the Moon. All right. Like smug faces. Oh. His voice is so much higher singing. Inside is full of deceit and outside's hell. Oh, and there's Moblet. Or no, there's Mike. Won't go getting overwhelmed by emotions get you killed. Ooh. To pierce the dark side of the moon. There are no answers here. Uh-huh, no regrets. Hashtag no regrets. And make your own decisions. I like the techno vibe. I wouldn't have pictured that for Levi, but it oddly works a lot. Oh, now you're going to show us them, huh? Hmm. The lesson. Oh, with the Levi squad. How dare you? Hmm. Hmm. Oh. And it changes. The chorus does. Don't lose your head. Don't scream. Ah. Live your life in a way that leaves with no regrets. Yeah. I'm trying to think who else Levi voice acts for. He was Sonata in Ace of the Diamond, and he was Take since Takeda in Haikyuu. I can't remember what else he's in. Mm. Hmm. His voice is so much higher pitched than I expect him to sing as. Mm. So we can push on forwards. And he's not by himself. He's with, yeah, Isabel and Farland there. This may be the first song that doesn't have Aaron involved in it. It's just Levi's song. Which is funny because Levi and Aaron, they both talk about their own selves in their songs. So, interesting. Hmm. Hmm. Oh. Oh. All right. And so that leaves us with Irwin, Hope of Mankind. Hmm. He looks so young there compared to the end of season 2. And that was only 2 days ago. Only 2 days have passed. Ooh, he has a good singing voice. It's very deep. Very opposite of Levi. It's funny because he's also Kinjo and Free. Mmm. It's a lot more slower than I thought Irwin's song would be. But it's kind of like calm and sets the pace. It's very steady and consistent, like Like Erwin himself? Gazing upon humanity's inferiority. Yeah, and this is going back to the end of episode 12 of saying, and yet we've not perished, but we're fighting humans as titans. The weak ones who have not paid with sacrifice. Yeah, I've been a menace for 100 years. Oh, yeah. I had been told to wait until the end of the season to listen to these, and I can see why now. I can see why now. Oh, yeah, that was such a great moment. I like that they didn't have a lot of fan art of Erwin, so they just like, we'll just put in the shots from the episode. It's fine. He like aged 10 years in the span of a season, which is only like 2 days. Uh-huh. Oh. Oh, we did get tied back to episode 12. Perhaps I can atone after when I have fallen into hell. Oh, wow. I like that he's like, I can atone by doing everything I can, and then when I'm gone, I'll continue to atone. Oh, why would you show us Mike? And not of a. This is why y'all ship them together. To sacrifice so much and to get few in return. Interesting. There's still a possibility. Going back to that scene. Ooh. Interesting. I would have to say Aaron's song was my favorite. Aaron and Jean's were my favorite. And then I'd have to say it's really close. Mika said Armin's songs were good, but they're a little more softer than I would like for a character song. I'd say Aaron and Jean's were my favorite. And then definitely it would be like Reiner, Bertolt, and Levi's, and then Erwin's. Erwin's was a little bit more laid back than I imagined, but interesting. Whew, so that leads us to the conclusion of this recap, review, and RIP. I don't know how long I've talked for. I've just been recording, so I'll have to edit it all together and see how long it's been. But the last thing I wanted to talk about, those character songs were great. I've never really listened to character songs for anime before because usually they contain spoilers, so I'm glad I got to see those character songs. That's really cool. I really like Aaron and Jean's. They're probably my favorite, but I like Jean's voice actor. He's really a good singer too, but Aaron's is probably my favorite. I really liked that. The whole idea of the cage being of isolation. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And then Bertolt and Reiner's was like, soldiers protect and warriors destroy. And it's like, oh, cool. I'm glad that it's tying to the plot of the series a little bit. So season 3 predictions. Man, I feel weird making predictions because I have no clue where we're going with this series. I have no clue where it's going. I'm like, what are we going to be doing in season 3? Because season 1 kind of ended setting up various plot threads for season 2 to pick up on. So I was like, okay, well, I think this is where season 2 is going. But season 2 ended with everything like a nice little bow of we have our resolve, we're going to face the Titans, but it didn't really give any explanation of where the story was going to from there. It just said like, we've got a mission, but it didn't say what the next move was. So I've got a couple predictions. I wonder if Hanji is going to talk to Connie's mom. I said this in episode 12, if they're going to try to transport Connie's mom to where the Survey Corps is, or to a secluded, isolated location to talk to Connie's mom and try to communicate with her. I don't know. Connie knows now that it's his mom, so I'm wondering if Connie's going to go talk to his mom or try to. She talked to him, so I'm not sure. I don't know. We're getting to the basement, maybe. I don't know. I get the feeling it's going to be this season or next season. I'm hoping it's this season. I'm hoping this season we get to that damn basement. The question is how. I don't know how we're getting there, but I really hope we do. But I don't know how we're getting there, so that's the big question mark. I want to see Armin, Jean, and Mikasa working more with Erwin in the Survey Corps. Especially, I feel like Armin and Jean, especially Armin, like Armin, when he did that deception with Bertolt and Reiner, and he looked down whenever Erwin slashed Bertolt and rescued Eren. There's a moment, if you go back and pause, where Armin looks down and he's like he's so happy to see Erwin. So I really want Armin to work more with Erwin and Jean to work more with them also. I really want that to happen to get some more insight. Because I feel like Armin, like I said, Erwin is like a combination of Eren and Armin. And I really think Erwin and Armin would be an interesting combination together. So I want to see more of that maybe in season 3. Mikasa being more with Eren. I don't see Mikasa leaving Eren's side, but Armin being more with Jean. I'm curious to know who Eren's going to work with in this season, more so than others. I want Eren to work more with the group, so I'm curious if that's going to happen. Retreading with Marlowe, Hitch, and the military police and the government. We kind of like brushed the military police and the government and politics to the side. We said, okay, we introduced these things. Now take a back seat while we do season 2. I really want Marlowe and Hitch to come back and for us to see more with the military police. The only time we really got the military police in this season was them helping out in charge. And they didn't really want to be there. So I want to see more with that. Historia, now that her name is out in the open, what are we going to do with that? What is going to happen with Historia? Is the family of the church going to come in on this? Because the family of the church seemed like they wanted to just sweep her under the rug and get her out of the way. So what are they going to do about her now? Are we going to get more with the royal family, more with nobility? We've really not had the royal family at all in this series so far, but clearly they're a thing. So I'm curious if this next season we're going to get more with that. That would be interesting. And then on the flip side, like I said, season 1, we got all of humanity. Season 2, we kind of started skirting the line between humanity and Titandom. And now this next season, I would really like to see Ymir, Bertolt, and Reiner go back to the hometown. I want to see what they do next. Are they going to meet up with the Beast Titan? Are they going to communicate with the Beast Titan? Will we get to see the hometown? Is Ymir going to die? I hope not. What will they do? What happens now? And are they going to meet up with more Titan shifters? That's what I'm curious about. Because Bertolt and Reiner have been away from their hometown for at least 5 years. So what's been happening while they were gone? I'm curious about that. Annie's still trapped. Are we going to get anything with her this season? Is Armin or Hanji or anybody going to try to communicate with her? What are we going to do with her character? And then Eren has his resolve. He wants to plug Wall Maria up, and I foresee Eren trying to practice this new coordinate power against Titans. I have a feeling I could see maybe Eren could practice on Connie's mom, like using the Titan powers to make her like get up and move or do something or talk or something. I don't know. I feel like they're going to want Eren to practice his powers and to explore them and see what all he can do. I feel like if they're going to try to plug up Wall Maria and reclaim it, then Eren's going to need to practice with his Titan powers. He practiced becoming a Titan with the Levi squad. It didn't go well, but he practiced at least. So maybe he'll get a chance to practice his powers. Is Grisha going to show back up? Is he going to show back up? Where's he been this whole time? Is he going to give Eren any information? Are we going to meet him at the basement? Grisha is on my shit list, and I really want to know where he's been this whole time and what he's been doing and up to. So really hoping we get some more on him this season as well. And then the Beast Titan. The Beast Titan, like I said, who is the man inside the monster? What is this? It looks like, here's the thing. I tied it back. I talked about it in episode 12, but it kind of looks like if you look at the season 2 ED, there's the monster that's talking to the woman, and the monster's blonde. So, and it looks like a monster, but you know, in some medieval drawings, they exaggerated features and made him look like a monster. So if they didn't know exactly what the beast was, is the blonde monster in the season 2 ED, is that the guy inside the Beast Titan? Are they the same being? And then his line, not yet. All he said was not yet, not yet, So I don't know if that's what that means. If it's a sign, if it's a literal sign to the audience for us not to be hopeful yet, like, oh, we just had this big sweeping speech by Erwin about resolve and tearing down the walls to find the truth, and then we get this guy coming out of the Beast Titan saying, not yet. Like, is that what that's meaning? Or is it the main battle hasn't begun yet? Does it mean that? Or is there still stuff that needs to be revealed to us about the Titans? Or was he commenting, seeing that they couldn't get Eren and was like, not yet? So, interesting. But I'll tell you what, y'all, the hype for season 3 is real. The hype for season 3 is real. I'm expecting more Titan lore, hopefully, more world building. I want to see the Titans' hometown. I want to learn more about the Titans. We were given just enough this season to get me curious and super invested. So I want to see more with that. And I want more with Eren's character explored as well. But man, this has been insane this season. And it's just, I love season 1, but I've loved season 2 just as much, if not more. So I have to say I love season 2 more than I liked season 1. I did. I love season 2 more. Season 1 is wonderful because it is indeed the simpler times. And it's just setting everything up. But I love season 2 a lot. My biggest thing is, please, y'all, you've been amazing. Please don't spoil me with season 3. I'll definitely say something about it at the start of the episode for season 3. But y'all have been saints, literal saints, not spoiling me. And I can't thank you enough. So I hope that continues on into season 3. So, but in any case, thank you for listening to my long-winded rambles. This is insanity that I've just done. So thank you all for listening so much to my long-winded rambles, to this recap video. Like I said, there's still so much more to talk about, but we can talk about it in the discussions, in the reactions, and keep the conversation going there, and on Patreon, and the Discord, wherever. So in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and I'm so excited for season 3! The next time I'll see y'all, I'll talk to y'all with season 3, episode 1 of Attack on Titan. Bye.